EAGLES, Eagles.
Here we are. Yes, Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. Rob Ellis, Tone to Shields. We are Sports Take. Tone, first of all, a little birdie. My sources, I can't reveal them, have told me this may be a big day for you and Mrs. Tone. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Today is my third wedding anniversary. I've been married officially for 3 years.
You're a veteran.
You think so? I mean,
no.
Did you feel like a veteran 3 years in?
No.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
No.
It's funny. Last night, I was reminded that I am not a veteran at all. You made a
rookie mistake?
Very much so. Very much so.
What happened? What'd you do?
To keep it plain and to keep it PG, we all have those moments where our wives tell us about ourselves. And
yes,
we tend
sometimes
to disagree.
You're not asking for that, but you get it anyway. Correct. Yes.
Exactly. And
yes.
And likely 9 times out of 10, we tend to disagree.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what exactly. But I pushed back a little too hard.
I got you.
And again, made a rookie mistake. But nonetheless, all is well. All is renewed. I woke up this morning and she said to me with a Coke and a smile, "Happy anniversary, babe." And I'm like, yes, I'm back.
No doghouse. Okay.
Exactly. No doghouse. So today, it's going to be a good day for us. We're going to go out later on to a nicer restaurant, get some dinner here in Texas, not too far away. And yeah, man, it's going to be a good time, man.
You know what's nice, and this is good work by you.
Yes.
You almost you're one off, but you can do a combo anniversary Valentine's Day move.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Sometimes, she likes to double dip.
Oh,
and
okay.
but it's okay though. What I do is I kind of sparse out the itinerary. So it feels like just one long event.
One long carryover. I get it.
Exactly. Right. One long carryover. But yeah, overall, man, I feel good this morning. Went out and got some sun. Went for a little walk. Took my vitamins, man. I feel great, man. How about you? How are you feeling today, man?
God, I'm not getting any sun. We're getting crushed with snow and rain in the Delaware Valley. Oh yeah. I don't know. And for folks, and let me say hi to everybody in the stream, and then I want to get to this in a minute because this is something I want to talk about. Tyler, what's up? Flexing and stepping. What's up? Twiz, what's up? I am awake. What's up? James, what's up? Ian, what is up? William, what is up? Robert, what is up? Let's see, who else do we have here? We have our girl Fitness Rebel. What's up, Rebel? What is up? I'm trying to Solvane. What is up? Hollywood Hogan. What is up? Philly 07. I don't want to miss anybody here. What's up, Fanny? What is up, Real RMP? What's up, Brandon? John, how you doing? Hope everybody's well. Transistor Zen. Hope you guys are good. If I missed anybody, my apologies. Boss, what's up? What's up? All right. So again, what's up, Mark? So if you folks in the Philly area, or if you were following what the weather was supposed to be in the Philly area, talk to me here. I thought we were going to get a little bit of like sleet-ish kind of stuff. Like I did radio last night. I got off at 10. I was driving home. It was raining. No big deal. It was not even like super hard. I thought we were going to get rain into sleet, into some snow, but like a coating or an inch or two. We're getting like in some spots, like 4 inches. Like I got to go out and shovel when I'm done the show.
Yeah, I was literally about to ask you, is it sticking?
It is. Oh, it is.
because my first thought is always, okay, what's the temperature? I don't want that thing to turn into black ice, all that kind of stuff.
The worst, man.
Yeah. And do you have like a driveway?
Yeah, not a big one. Yeah, but yes, I do. It's skinny.
Is it sloped?
No.
Okay,
no,
good,
flat,
good. Because you don't want that to happen here.
No, I don't have that deal. No, thank God. Wow, 8 inches in Lansdale, Jason. Okay, that's not far outside of Philadelphia, man.
I am so far removed from the PA weather, system. It's insane. But I want you guys to try to stay safe, stay warm, do whatever you got to do, but don't take any unnecessary risk, you guys.
Exactly. All right. So, John, the forecast was all over the place. Looks like about a ½ inch in Voorhees. Okay, so we got PA got a little bit more than John. What's up, South Jersey? Yeah, we got a little bit more, man. Than that. Solvang got like 5 to 6 inches. Where he's at. Yeah, man. Time to bust out the boots and get after it. So I'll be doing that.
Yeah, I should probably check on my folks later on in the day, see how they're handling everything.
I would always worry because my mom and dad were stubborn as hell. Stubborn. So,
the passion you said that with just tells me that it probably was worse than what you were saying.
Dude, my mom, forget it. All right. So whenever we would get snow, my first thought would be like, all right, I got to dig myself out real quick and then get over to their house and shovel. Because if I don't, they will. Old people out there, older people, no offense, older people out there shoveling is, cannot be good. It's a heart attack waiting to happen. So I would try and hustle over there in time to get it done all the time, man. But sometimes I'd get there and my mom would be like, I'm done. I'm like, how many times do we have to talk about this? You're too old to be out there shoveling. Not far. 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Around there. Cool. But it's like, come on, man. And she'd be like, nah, I'm done. She's sitting there having her tea. Hey, I already finished it all up. I'm like, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
She's a soldier.
Oh, man.
Mama Ellis was a soldier.
Oh, she didn't play. All right. So couple things here. Listen to these numbers, Tone, from the Super Bowl. When we discussed it, we were talking about how we thought it was going to go through the roof. It was a game that went to overtime. No big surprise there. It ended up being a really tight game. So CBS drew on all their platforms, 123.4 million viewers, which is the most watched TV program in their history. 123.4 million. That's up 7% from the Eagles Super Bowl, which, if you remember, came down to the very last play of the game last year with the field goal. Now, the actual CBS broadcast did 120, which is 120 million, which is insanity. And that's, again, it was 115 last year, 123.4. That's a 7% increase from year to year. What an absolute monolith juggernaut machine the NFL is. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. We talk about it all the time, how they just have a stranglehold on the sports calendar. I mean, the NFL was a year-round, 12-month project. It's a 12-month party. I mean, the preseason, the regular season, and then we have the playoffs, and then the Super Bowl, and then after that we had the combines, and then we have free agency.
Yeah, and we'll walk through the
draft,
the timeline in a little
OTA.
bit. Yeah.
Like, we care. Like, football fans are almost demons. Like, we care about OTAs. You know what I mean? We pay attention to every little detail about this sport. The trade deadline. I mean, there's no trade deadline like the NFL. There's no draft like the NFL. There's no offseason like the NFL. It's quite astonishing. The NFL gets people glued to the TV just to hear people talk about the schedule release.
It's true. That's true. It's schedule. Think about how lame like the hot stove has been for baseball this offseason. Like, it's been a yawn fest. Ohtani signed with the Dodgers. They signed Yamamoto, and then it was just kind of like whatever. The NFL, think about how nuts the first couple days of free agency, the tampering periods are, when you can officially sign guys. And I'll give you the dates for all those in a minute. But think about how glued we are to every little thing. How oh my God, they're screwed. They don't have a defensive tackle yet. Meanwhile, we're like 8 hours into free agency. That's how into it everybody is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's funny how much they put into it. Just as a company, right? They put so much into it. And it's almost like they can't miss. You know what I mean? We're that invested in the product, and now they're obviously trying to expand, to new countries. The Brazil game, obviously the Eagles are going to play that, and I think in 2025 or is it 26 they're going to play in Spain? Is that what it is?
Right. That's right. Yep.
So
yeah. Well, we got Brazil next year. We know that, and then 25 I think is Spain.
Right, and we're obviously going to have the London games and the Germany games.
Right,
those aren't going anywhere, but they're doing an amazing job with this product. I just wish players got a little bit better treatment after they retired, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, the NFL is a hell of a machine, and we're all invested.
No, it's an incredible thing what they do, and again they end up having a great game, which certainly helps, and I think keeps viewers around as well. Don't discount the Taylor Swift thing, and I'll give you the time that we saw her over a 4-hour game, which is going to blow your mind too. But there's a lot of things involved in this thing, so yeah, incredible. All right, so a couple things. Philadelphia centric wise sports. Props to both the Sixers and the Flyers. Let's start with the Sixers. The Sixers went into Cleveland last night. Cleveland has been as hot as any team since the start of the new year. Okay. So they go in there last night without Embiid, without Harris, without Batum, without Melton, without Covington. So basically without 4 starters that you've had most of the year. It just Tyrese, out there. And they beat them 123-121. And big game out of Buddy Hield. Very efficient game too, shooting from the outside, both 2s and 3s. He played extremely well. Oubre played well. KJ Martin played well. Like everybody, Cam Payne played well. Everybody stepped up for them last night. That was a gutty, inspiring kind of regular season win. I know a lot of people kind of checked out after Embiid got hurt, but I give them total props for that game last night.
Yeah. I'll be honest. You and I talked about this yesterday, and we had them losing that game. We had them maybe not even winning another game for the rest of
me. Guilty. I said they wouldn't win another game in February. Okay, so
I definitely said they weren't winning the Cleveland game. I definitely said that.
Me too. So feel free to give me all the smoke there.
No, you're fine, my friend. I'm right there with you. It shocked me. I mean, and they beat them on the road. That was another thing as well. So gutsy performance, like you said. You had guys stepping up. KJ Martin, Paul Reed, Buddy Hield
with a huge block on Donovan Mitchell at the end of the game too. Big time.
Campaign. Here's the dope thing about it. The guys you traded for made immediate impacts in this game. I mean, again, Campaign gave you 15 off the bench. Buddy Hield, 24 points. Went 9 for 13, 5 for 8 from 3. He was on fire.
Big
Kelly
time.
Oubre, 10 for 14. I mean, played 41 minutes. Maxey led the way. He had 22 points, 9 assists. Had 4 turnovers, but again, I mean, he's out there trying to do a lot, and they're likely double teaming him on a lot of possessions. So look, Maxey's a guy. He took 21 shots. He's going to continue to shoot. Listen, shooter's going to shoot. Scorer's going to score at the end of the day. And I don't want Maxey to stop shooting or stop
you can have nights where you're not hitting your little
exactly. But again, man, it was just one of those performances where you were shocked. I mean, even Mo Bamba came off the bench and gave you a strong 19 minutes. He gave you some things.
I know he did. He did. That was good. And you just love the effort because they're obviously undermanned. They're obviously playing against a better team, a team that's way hotter. The Sixers have been, other than the win against Washington, have been stone cold lately. So the other thing it did for me at least was it's helping me envision what this could look like if Embiid can come back healthy. I mean, if you have Embiid and they're trying to run doubles at him or doubles at Maxey, and you're kicking it to Hield for a clean look, I mean, he's going to knock it down. And you add a little scoring punch from Campaign off of the bench too. You can see what Morey did. Did they lose a little bit of toughness with, Pat Bev and Marcus Morris? Yeah, they did, I think. But you've definitely added scoring punch to this thing if you get Embiid back healthy.
Yeah, and also, look, here's the thing too. If you know you can score, then you're not afraid of anybody, right? So like you said, sure they maybe lost that edge, right? But if you can score and you're confident in your ability to put points up, I mean, no one strikes fear in you at the end of the day.
Right.
I think about the way they're built still. Kelly Oubre, I mean, he may not be known as a tough guy, but he doesn't back down. You think about other guys on the roster, Paul Reed, I've never seen him back down from anybody. So it's just, again, you lost guys that people were starting to grow accustomed to, especially in Pat Bev. But I think ultimately, I think Campaign and Buddy Hield, they're providing some offense that Patrick Beverly just couldn't provide on a consistent basis.
I agree with you. And I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think beyond, what you appreciate about guys like Oubre, yeah, there's some limitations. He's not exactly going to be a guy who's dishing out a lot of assists. But on a night when you say to him, hey, dude, I need you to get some shots up and score here because we just don't have a lot of options. He's not, afraid of that task. So he'll jump in there, and do his thing. So credit to those guys. And again, and maybe I'm setting myself up for, torture here, but I'm looking forward to what it could be if Embiid comes back. I know I'm that guy. I'm that sucker.
But we should, though. We should. Yeah. I mean, Embiid, when he was healthy, was playing the best basketball we've ever seen him play. He was the most dominant player in the NBA. Tyrese Maxey is an all-star this year. You have a reason to be optimistic, Rob.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is a curse circulating the Wells Fargo that prevents Joel Embiid from making it through an entire NBA season.
I know.
But I think I'm with you. I think I am beginning to envision what it could look like having a guy like Buddy Hield and Campaign, coming off the bench. Those guys that can stretch the floor for you, guys who are proven snipers, proven sharpshooters.
Absolutely.
I really loved what Campaign brought to the Phoenix Suns when he was over there, and I felt like he was very efficient, very effective there. So playing with Maxey, playing with Joel Embiid, and then Tobias Harris, when he gets back, it's going to be a Sixers team that you have to respect. So it makes you think. It makes you think if Joel Embiid does come back, whatever he can provide you, how far can they go?
That's the $1 million question. And I really hope, Tone, again, this is all like best case. But if he can get back and get about 2 weeks of ramping up regular season games to roll into the playoffs, then I think you can see a path. They're going to be trouble because they're probably going to end up being like a 7 seed or something like that. They're going to be trouble for somebody early, depending on what the matchup is. We'll see. I mean, look, there's a long way to go, and it's all about Embiid. We know that.
Yeah.
Flyers props to comeback win against the Coyotes last night. Their 4th straight.
Yeah, they keep surprising me. I'll tell you that right now. They keep surprising me. And look, the Coyotes aren't world beaters. Don't get me wrong, but still, 4-game winning streak. You're coming off of beating the Kraken, Jets, Panthers, and they're facing some adversity along the way. If you really look at, they beat the Panthers 2-1, then Jets 4-1, Kraken 3-2, Coyotes 5-3. They're scoring.
Yeah,
and
they have the most shorthanded goals in hockey.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, right? It speaks to the way Tortorella is coaching them, right? Telling them to be aggressive, don't back down, regardless. Even if we're shorthanded, or if we're on a power play, I want you guys to approach every situation with the same energy, the same effort.
Yeah, they're good. They're good, and we're gonna talk to Anthony Sanfilippo coming up.
I can't wait for that.
So we'll do that. Kelsey was on Shaq's podcast, Tone, and said decision will be coming down the next couple of weeks. So that would align with what he's done in years past because the combine is February 27th through March 4th. So that's basically, we're at the 13th. It's 2 weeks. So it's 2 weeks from now, the combine. And that's when he made the announcement last year. If I'm being totally straight with you, man, I have no idea at this point what he's doing.
I was actually about to ask you what's your gut telling you.
I'm leaning more towards he comes back, but it's like it's a slight lean. It's not a hard lean. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this.
I think.
How about you?
I think he's coming back, man. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like it. I don't know, man. There's always a vibe. There's always an energy that you feel like, yeah, this is it. You always can feel it.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like that. This feels like one of those situations where he's sitting home. He's like, I'm having too much fun, man.
Right.
Like just this vibe, this energy. I'm still at the top of my game. I'm still relatively healthy. I haven't had any catastrophic injuries. I still have my wits about me. My wife is a diehard supporter. The kids are doing great. The parents are doing great. Businesses is thriving. I can rock out another season. I can roll with this. You know what I mean?
Wonder too, like, don't you wonder if watching Travis didn't ignite the flame a little bit more, just them win another one to try to take a shot one more time. I wonder about
not,
that, man. Yeah.
Why not? Why not? I mean, I saw him in the in the box. He was just like, he had this level of focus, or just this level of just intensity, like he's sitting there contemplating it in real time. Obviously, again, he was having a lot of fun off the field. Rolling with Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, hanging out with Shaq and those guys.
Yeah, he did.
He's having fun,
time.
man.
Yeah,
he's having a good time, man.
Yeah.
Partying with the Rey Mysterio mask, but I just don't think he's done, man. I really don't.
All right. Well, we'll see about that. Phillies pitchers and catchers. This is also one of the reasons we'll have Anthony Sanfilippo on. So they report today, tomorrow, and basically the 15th. So today, tomorrow, and Thursday are the days for the pitchers and catchers to get their full squad. Will be a week from yesterday. So that's kind of where things are.
Quick question for you: have you ever been to their spring training?
Yes. It's a lot of fun, man. It's, first of all, Clearwater, Florida is very cool. It's about a 25 minute drive from Tampa. So you fly into Tampa and then you make the trek over the bridge. It's a pretty easy ride. It's a beautiful beach town. Like the beach is like white sand. Like you can't believe it's the same ocean that we jump into on the Jersey Shore. Like it looks totally different. But
Jersey Shore ocean looks gray.
Gray might be nice. That's a generous green, brown. So it's really nice. It's cool. And the thing about if you go into the game just as a fan, first of all, there's tons of great restaurants and bars or whatever you're looking for there. But if you go to a game, it's very intimate setting, very small ballpark. You have, you're kind of right on top of the action. Before the game, you can get autographs if you line up along the third base line generally.
Gives you that college baseball vibe.
Very much. And it's very like fan friendly, little kids, loving it. It's cool. I would tell everybody, if they can pull it off, do it. It's just absolutely awesome.
I'm going to have to do that, before I punch my ticket. I'm going to have to do that because I've been to Florida before, but I've always wanted to, go to the spring training games because I know they're very light, very fun. Your access to the players is much easier than if you're at Citizens Bank, obviously.
Oh, totally different.
Yeah.
Sills is dead on with this. The Phillies are the best spring training facility in Clearwater. Yankees is awesome too. Yankees are in Tampa, Phillies are in Clearwater, but there's a ton of them that are right near each other.
Dunedin's wow. Okay.
Right
so a bunch of the teams in the MLB, okay. So that's like a thing.
Blue Jays, Tigers aren't far. Like they're all right there. So you could do a bunch. Like you could hit on a Wednesday the Phillies, on a Thursday the Yankees, on a Friday the Blue Jays, whatever, and it's all within driving distance.
So from a business perspective, that area must love spring training season. They must love it. They kill it.
They kill it. And there's a lot of Philly style restaurants there too.
Okay.
Like Lenny's is a Philly. Yeah, Lenny's is a Philly style breakfast joint. Yeah, and Dan's right. Fort Myers has the Red Sox too. And it used to be the Reds used to train in Sarasota, which isn't a bad ride either. I used to jump over to Sarasota sometimes and go see the Reds. Well, anyway, I saw them when Griffey got traded to the Reds, when Ken Griffey Jr. got traded to the Reds. Anyway, but there's all these there's like a Delco Steaks, it's called, which is in Dunedin, which is you get cheesesteaks, you get hoagies. Like you'll hit your glory. You need your fix, man. So you need to make it happen.
I try not to say cheesesteak too often in my home because my wife looks at me like, "Oh my God, you're such a barbarian." Yeah. and I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm a basic Philly guy, born and raised in the city. Give me a cheesesteak, give me a bacon, egg, and cheese, man, on a long roll. Like I am so simple when it comes to like my Philly cuisine. Like, anyway, man.
It's in our blood, man. It's in our DNA. I mean, it is what it is. So
she was born in Georgia, so maybe she
doesn't fully appreciate it.
Yeah.
I get it, man. But yeah, I would tell everybody, if they can pull it off, head down there. It's a lot of fun. Dan's right. Okay. Also, the Braves train right outside of Disney in Kissimmee.
Oh, that's dope.
That's dope. And it's ridiculous, man, because you have the whole I think it's still there. The whole ESPN, sports complexes and all that stuff is just fun to go to and check out, watch a game, have a beer or whatever. But it's all good, man. All right. So here's what we're going to do. When we come back, we're going to look at positions that could potentially change for the Eagles And there's a decent amount. I mean, I counted 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, potentially 10 new positions starting players going into the 2024 season. And that's not even to mention, and we'll tie this into Kelsey, the coaching changes. Okay. So we'll talk about that when we get back. A lot to do today for sure, kind of jumping around with all the sports, which I love. But we'll talk some birds when we get back. Don't go anywhere. That's Tony Shields. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. All right, let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Yes, I've been going there since I was a kid. Family owned since 1985. You got Alex, who is the man who runs the show, and his crew in there putting out the most fresh, best food on a daily basis. Bravo Pizza of Havertown offers 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have specialized pizza. However you want it, they'll make it. But if you're not up for pizza, they have sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads, cheesesteaks, hoagies, Tone. Yes, they have all those kind of things. Bravo is also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook for daily specials and promotions. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, Pennsylvania. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. The phone number, call them right now, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. A little more from Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their Fantasy Pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
All right. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We appreciate it. Everybody streaming, everybody listening, everybody in the chat. You guys are much appreciated. All right. So, Tone, let's look at the birds here and the potential turnover. Let me throw just positions at you, and then tell me if I missed anything, and then we'll go through the player that was there and who could be there next year. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
Center, like we talked about with Kelsey, that's a possibility. We know that. I'll get to Cam Jurgens in a second. Right guard would change if Kelsey leaves. Jurgens would be out as right guard. Running back, I think we're kind of both of the belief we'd like Swift back, but it kind of feels like it's not happening. Would you agree with that?
I don't think it's happening. And plus, also him coming back, he can't be my only option at the position. I need to have a combination of his ability and someone with power.
Yeah,
that's
upgrade that.
That's my perspective, though.
Yeah, and Kellen Moore likes a bigger back too with the smaller. Not that DeAndre's so small, but you know what I mean. All right, that's all I have on offense. I don't really see any other changes, at least for the starters on the offensive side of the ball. You're
maybe that number 3 receiver position. We have no idea what that's going to look like.
Yeah,
as well.
That will be different. Yeah, if you consider that a starter, I think that there's no chance that it's going to be Quez Watkins or Olamide Zaccheaus. I don't think there's any shot that that's the way that plays out. I agree with that. All right, defense. If you considered Brandon Graham a starter at left defensive end, then yes, Brandon Graham won't be starting if he's here. Right defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, potentially coming back, but potentially gone. Hassan Reddick, edge / linebacker. Weak side linebacker, Zach Cunningham. Middle linebacker, Shaq Leonard. Left corner, James Bradbury. Strong safety, Kevin Byard. You could, if you wanted to, I think Blankenship returns as the free safety. The only other one I could maybe throw in there is nickel corner as with Avonte Maddox. I don't know that he's 100% to come back.
Yeah. I was talking to John McMullen about this last night on Football 24/7, and we try to do that show at least 2 to 3 times a week. In the off season, we kind of transition to a breaking news perspective. Nonetheless, we talked about Avonte last night briefly. And to paraphrase, he doesn't think he's coming. He thinks he's a potential cut candidate.
I do too, actually. I agree with that.
Yeah. Kevin Byard is definitely a cut candidate. He thinks Avonte Maddox is a potential cut candidate. When it comes to Hassan Reddick, him and I both agree that the likely scenario will be Hassan Reddick going out there, testing the market, not necessarily hearing or seeing what he would like, and then he comes back to the table with the Eagles. They renegotiate, they extend him, maybe bump up his salary a couple million, a few million, and drop a bag of money at his feet, and all is forgiven. So, and then beyond that, I mean, again, most of the changes are going to happen on the defensive side. That linebacker position, I do think they're likely to bring back Zach Cunningham. The way Howie Roseman spoke about him in that press conference,
I agree,
makes me believe they're going to try to bring him back in some shape, way, or form. And
I wonder if he's penciled in as a starter. I think
it's a really good question.
They're going to go with Nakobe Dean, whether we all like it or not, as a starter. But
now here's the thing. Let me ask you this, though. Because Vic Fangio is in the building, he's a guy that has pedigree, demands respect. And he's a guy that I feel like wouldn't come into a situation like this unless he has some kind of say-so about what's going to happen.
I agree.
I would like to think, because of how he approaches things, he's going to force Nakobe Dean to perform. And if he can't do the job, he's not going to be on the field.
Keep in mind, he inherited Nakobe Dean. He wasn't on board when they drafted him. So I don't know that he has the same ties. He might be more apt to push back if he's not seeing what he wants.
I actually like that fact. The fact that he comes in, he didn't draft none of these guys. He inherited them. So therefore, he's going to look at these guys with a completely unbiased lens.
No bias. Exactly.
No favoritism, no prior relationships that I know of.
Yep.
He's going to come in and it's going to be very simple. Can you do the job or can't you? If you can't, all right, we're going to find someone who will.
Yeah. But all right, so again, we know Kelsey. We don't know. It's contingent. We'll know in a couple weeks. But if he does move on, Juergens will go there, and then I'm guessing it's Tyler Steen. But that's not 100%. Opeta's a free agent.
Yeah.
Driscoll's a free agent. Not saying he would get that gig, but I'm just saying those guys are free agents, so they may move on. So it may end up being Tyler Steen, whether they are 100% convinced he's ready to go or not. I mean, they did spend a second-round pick on the guy.
Yeah, that's true. And, you're right. We have to consider the fact that Sua Opeta and Driscoll may not come back. It may be teams are desperate for offensive line play, quality offensive line play. And the Philadelphia Eagles are known around the NFL for developing offensive linemen. And Jack Driscoll has put up a lot of tape. He's put up a lot of tape for people to look at, and he's only 26 years old. Sua Opeta is 27 years old. Those guys are barely scratching their primes yet. The Philadelphia Eagles have to be careful if those guys really hit the open market, because another team may throw them a bag of money, and you may not be able to bring either of those guys back. It's an entirely it's a possibility. I mean, I think Isaac Seumalo, he went to Pittsburgh, but he was a starter. And then I think Nate Herbig, I think he went to Pittsburgh as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, those guys got nice money. A guy like Sua Opeta could get a chance somewhere. I mean, it's not out of the question. I feel like Driscoll makes sense to be back because he won't, I don't think, command a ton, and he does have decent versatility. I'd like to see him be back just as an insurance policy here. But hey, man, somebody might like him more than the Eagles do, and if that's the case, he probably would be gone too. So that could go a lot.
And they drafted Steen. They definitely drafted Steen to to be potentially a starter at some point.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's one thing that we're not really talking about that much. We talk about the Philadelphia Eagles potentially going best available on draft night, potentially going corner or linebacker or even edge, right? In their history, we've definitely seen them go O-line in the first round, and they prioritize the trenches more than anything else.
Lane's not getting any younger also, so it's definitely not out of the question.
And Lane's not getting any younger. He's battled injury throughout the years, little tweaks here and there, nothing major. But, remember, I think it was the Super Bowl season. He missed those final few games, came back in the playoffs. Last year, I think he missed one game, something like that. Couldn't suit up. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's entirely plausible that the Philadelphia Eagles may go O-line in that first round as well.
Yeah. Eagles fans won't be happy, but that's, if you follow the way they think, it's trenches, man. It's trenches. So it could very well happen. All right. So then the other thing is running back. We don't know. It could be a free agent. They could certainly draft somebody a little bit later, which is not out of the question. But I'm with you. I do truly believe one of Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell are gone. One of those two are gone. I think you'll have a primary. I think you'll have a bigger guy as a backup, sort of as a 1-2 punch guy. And then it's probably Gainwell. But I think that's your three that you're looking at. But Swift is going to, I think it's sort of like what they're going to do with Hassan Reddick. It's different in that Reddick still is under contract, but I think they like Swift enough where they're going to say, hey, we get it. You want to test the waters? Go ahead, get back to us, and let's see where we are here. And Swift, I hate to say it for him, but it could be good for the Eagles because there's so many good running backs out there. He may not get anywhere near what he's hoping he's going to get. So he could be back.
Point. That's a good point. He had his first 1,000-yard season behind that Eagles O-line.
Pro Bowl. He made the Pro Bowl.
He made the Pro Bowl. He had his first season where he was fully healthy. Didn't miss any games. So in his eyes, he's trending in the right direction. He's trending in the right direction physically. And he's pretty confident in his abilities. Again, made the Pro Bowl, so that automatically spiked the number right there, spiked the price. Somebody's going to give him at minimum $5 million a year, and I don't know if the Philadelphia Eagles entirely see themselves doing that because they haven't shown a propensity to do so. I look at it like this, right? This is what I compare it to. Miles Sanders. We know how much the Philadelphia Eagles value players they draft. They let Miles Sanders walk at their career year. And obviously he went to Carolina and did what he did. Didn't do much, but the point is they let him walk and they drafted him. So how do you think they feel about a guy they didn't draft?
I know. Like let me put it this way. If he gets $5 million, like you just said, there's no prayer he's back here. Like there's no shot. He's back if he tests the market, doesn't get what he likes. And that's the path to him coming back. It's the only path to him coming back. So that's it. All All right, now there's a lot of potential turnover here on the defensive side. You know, Brandon Graham may be an Eagle next year. He may not. But if he is, it's going to be an incredibly limited capacity. He's definitely not a starter in any way, shape, or form.
If you had to roll the dice, do you think he'll be back here next year? If you had to bet on it.
You know what I think they may do? I'm not ducking the question because I'm going to answer it. But I think they may try to offer him a Connor Barwin kind of situation where he's a part of this thing. He's in the coaching room and he's still an Eagle, like to that degree. But I don't know how hell-bent BG is on playing that 15th year because he brings it up all the time. So I'd say he's back. It's tough to use a roster spot, but I think he's going to be back. I think he's so different sentimentally for them.
So yeah, okay. So that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think they bring him back simply because their emotions are too tied up into him?
Yes, and that's not the way you should do business. But yes.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
And I love
because they need as many bodies as they can get on defense.
Yeah, I hate saying it, but all right. I want Fletcher back, but I don't know, man. The vibe I get is he's gone. But you know, a lot of this is going to be money. I can't see him walking away because he played so well last year. I just don't see it. I know there's some people think he's going to retire.
I don't think that.
I think he plays. He's either here or somewhere else. I don't think he walks.
Yeah.
I mean, walks away and retires.
Right. And, remember, we thought he was going to walk last year. And then even the year before that, because they kind of cut him and then re-signed him, right? It was a weird situation over the past couple of years.
There were a lot of weird stuff last year. You know, Slay was weird. Bradbury was weird. Fletcher Cox was weird. It was all weird.
Yeah, Fletcher Cox is such an interesting case study because he's still playing at a high level relatively. You don't want him, in my opinion, you don't want him playing 80% of the snaps.
It was way too much last year.
Yeah, I personally think he played too much last year. So there's going to be a team that's willing to pay him, but at his age, will he command north of $10 million from somewhere?
That's probably where your cutoff is.
It's probable, but I would love to have Fletcher come back for one, but I think it has to be at a number that makes sense for both parties. If they can't agree to a number, then it's curtains.
Yeah, it is. All right. So again, that's another position that could be a turnover. Hassan Reddick on the edge could be another guy who is not back. We talked about Cunningham and we talked about Leonard. Leonard's gone, but Cunningham very well could be back. Howie singled him out in the press conference, as you said. On top of that, Nakobe Dean's probably going to be plugged in there. All right, so that's what that looks like. But it's sort of going to be at least one new starter, because Nakobe Dean only played 5 games, whatever it was, last year. Now some big questions here. I think Byard's pretty easy. That's a no-brainer. But are they willing to take the hit for Bradbury? That is a big, big, big question here.
I think they would be. Here's the thing. Darius Slay's contract is quite literally immovable. Darius Slay is going to be here. He's here to stay. But when you look at James Bradbury's situation, let me make sure I got this number right.
16,
James Brad. Yeah, let me look at his cap hit, his dead cap. Here it is. All right. So he has a $4.8 million cap hit and has a $17.2 million dead cap hit. Are they willing to take that hit? I think they're going to talk to him.
Yeah.
Say, listen. Obviously, things didn't happen the way that we wanted it to. We like you. We're willing to. We need to restructure this thing. But I think if the conversation goes Ari, then that's going to leave another body they got to replace in the cornerback room. I think they're pretty high on Isaiah Rodgers. That they had pretty much sitting on ice. Remember, he got caught up with the gambling stuff.
Right. Oh, so you always have to take that into account. Yep.
Right. So I think Isaiah Rodgers is likely to replace Avonte Maddox, and then I'll put you this way: if they cut Bradbury, I think we know what they're going to do in the first round. That's how
you think it's corner, even if they trade Hassan.
I guess I'm operating off the assumption they don't trade Hassan. So if
I think if they don't trade Hassan, I think you're right. I believe corner is where they're going. For sure. I mean, some of this though is that you can have a plan, right? And because someone starts falling or some other team shows a desperate interest to drop back, and everything changes. But I would agree with you. I think this is very much a draft that you go in pretty open-minded. Like you could justify corner, you could justify edge, you could justify offensive lineman, potentially. There's a lot of positions you could justify. If they were anybody but the Eagles, you could justify linebacker. So there's a lot of different ways that they could go. But if you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on defense, 8, 9, 10 if you add up the offense. That's a lot of turnover. That's almost half of your start. You start 22 guys.
It makes you question how soon they can get back to relevancy with so much coaching turnover, so much roster turnover, especially on defense. You have to it has to be considered that this team is going to struggle coming out the gate.
All right. So that
has to be considered.
I think this is an interesting question then off of that. Just sitting here right now, and I understand we don't know. There's so much we don't know about where they're going to go here.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're a playoff team next year?
Okay. The only way I can make sense of this is if we look at every team in the conference and try to see, okay, who are they better than, basically.
Okay, let's do it. All right.
Okay, let's start from the bottom. The Panthers, they're better than them. Obviously they lost to the Cardinals, but I think overall they're a better team than the Cardinals. They're better than the Commanders, better than the Giants, better than the Falcons, better than the Bears, better than the Vikings, better than the Saints. They lost to the Seahawks, but I still believe they're ultimately better than them.
I do too.
So that puts them at the 8th spot, right?
Yep.
Now this is where things get interesting.
You got to get up.
Packers, Buccaneers, Rams. Do we think they're better than the Packers right now?
No.
I can't say that definitively. Do I think they're better than the Buccaneers right now?
I know the Bucks beat them.
I know they beat them, but
I'm not buying into the Bucks.
I don't buy them as a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
So just staying there, I mean, that puts them in the playoff hunt or a wild card team.
Yeah, right.
I think
and you could go the other way with it, right? So, okay, who's ahead of them? Niners,
Cowboys, Lions.
Cowboys, Lions. Okay, those three. But
and
Dallas,
then you ask, Packers are ahead of them. We said so there's 4 teams ahead. So it's 4 teams ahead of them. That puts them in the 5 spot.
Someone has to win the South.
So that begs the question. Do we believe they're better than the Rams?
Rams are an interesting one, and Seahawks.
Mm-hmm. Listen,
I think the Rams, it's a toss-up. I'm going to give a slight lean to the Eagles over the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks beat them.
Yeah, and look, the Eagles only won one more game than the Rams last year.
I know. I think they're right. It's right on the borderline. I think they're right on the borderline. A lot can change. I
think they're flirting. I think they're flirting between. I think they're a wild card team.
And this
Let's
is a
put
good
it that way. That's basically what we're saying. We think that we think they're a wild card team.
Yeah, and Coach Marcus, how many of those teams that are quote unquote better than the Eagles have had coaching turnover as well? All right, so
the Rams are pretty much intact. I know they lost Raheem Morris, but they're still pretty much intact.
Seattle had a coaching change.
Right. Seattle had a major coaching turnover. Pete Carroll's gone. The Packers still have LaFleur. They have a new
DC, but they still
new
have
DC. That's about it. But bringing in the new DC may change some other positions on that staff as well on defense.
Yep.
But they still got Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, who's rising fast.
Yep.
Not
really. The other teams that they're sort of dancing around with have there's not a ton of coaching change. Like the Cowboys are still with McCarthy, but
they
lost Dan
Zimmer in
Quinn.
there.
Yeah, they lost Dan Quinn. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Mike
the Lions, they're intact.
Yep. Lions. It's crazy. Lions didn't lose their OC. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but that's it. There's the Eagles. That's the other part. And
I think at best right now, at best, they're a wild card team at best.
So you mentioned this in our show meeting, and I think it's interesting to explore how important and this is, your thought was, and tell me if I'm expressing this right. How important is it if Kelsey comes back, because you have these new coordinators, to keep some kind of cohesion and that kind of stuff? But expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm, what I was saying. I think it's so important for Kelsey to come back, for many reasons. But one of the reasons that we're talking about now is the fact that you have so much coaching turnover, especially with Kellen Moore coming in. You got a new quarterback coach. Obviously, Jeff Stoutland is still in the building, so you're not going to have too many changes there. But again, Kellen Moore is bringing his offense, his style. The Eagles, as a team, struggled against the blitz last year, most notably the quarterback. I think it's going to be so integral to Jalen Hurts' continued development to have a guy like Jason Kelsey in the building, at least for one more season, while he goes through this transition period with Kellen Moore. At the end of the day, you want your quarterback to be as comfortable as possible in the current situation. The head coach is looking like a lame duck coach right now with no power. You have a new OC in the building. He lost Brian Johnson. And if Jason Kelsey leaves, that'd be a new center for Cam Jurgens. Or do you guys really feel completely comfortable with Cam Jurgens taking over in this sort of environment with the head coaching with the head coach situation, with the OC turnover and all that kind of stuff? Are you guys that confident in Cam Jurgens really being able to stabilize that line right now? Because in my opinion, outside of the quarterback, the center is the second most important position on the offense. I think Jason Kelsey's expertise can really soften the landing for all this coaching turnover that Jalen Hurts is going to experience.
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel a little bit better in that Jason Kelsey was the one who really went to bat for him and said, this guy reminds me of me. I love that. So that's important. You still have Stoutland there. That's important as far as continuity goes. And if you could protect Jalen, and let's face it, we haven't even talked about Jalen Hurts yet. And we're going to get into this, easy fix versus challenging fix in a minute here. And we'll do Jalen a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, look, if Jalen and Cam are going to have to get accustomed to one another too, like he was with Kelsey. I mean, I know Jalen is not a guy who throws praise around a ton, but Kelsey's one he will talk about
openly without hesitation.
That's a big one. How quickly can those two get that chemistry together? It's a big piece of this.
Yeah, Cam, he's going to be the starting center at some point. That's a guarantee.
Yep.
But again, I just think Kelsey right now, because he's playing at such a high level, first team All Pro still, no major health issues that we know of. With this coaching turnover, you need that experience in the building. You're going to need it. Again, to stabilize everything. It'll make Kellen Moore's job easier. You have a center who's seen everything. Kellen Moore. I look at it as one less guy Kellen Moore has to teach. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's a good point. But no, I think that's going to be a piece of this thing. And I'm just trying to think of if there's any other starting potential moves made. I agree with you. Slay's contract is so prohibitive, and he was okay last year. So he's going to be back. I think Blankenship will be a starter. I don't think they want to clean out both guys there.
Yeah, because that's a good point, right? Because here's the thing. As much as we know that the Philadelphia Eagles need to make a lot of changes, when you're going into an off season like this, you're trying to limit the damage and also make repairs as well. Yeah. You don't want to start cleaning house to the point where it's like, okay, now we have no furniture. You know what I mean? You want to leave some items. You move to a new house, you don't take everything, but you take the essentials, or you take the things that you feel like I can still get some use out of this. This can probably hold me over until maybe I'm ready to buy this new couch or whatever. So again, when it comes to the Eagles roster, maybe they don't completely gut the entire defense. Maybe they keep certain guys, like you said, Reed Blankenship. Okay, let's keep him there. Keep Slay, obviously. We want to obviously keep Hassan Reddick. Okay, maybe Zach Cunningham isn't the prime guy we want there, but having a guy who's played the position, who's been with the defense for a full year, maybe we bring in another body to help compete. You want to just try to limit the damage and still try to improve the roster at the same time. You don't want to create more work for yourself than necessary is what I'm trying to say.
I'll tell you a good example of this, and you can apply this to almost anything, but the way the Chiefs remade their defense on the fly, it helps because you have Mahomes who can prop you up offensively, right? No doubt. But man, they did a really good job drafting the McDuffies of the world, the Karloftises of the world, the Sneeds, all of these guys that they just sort of remade everything that they were doing, along with a couple of veterans who were studs like Chris Jones. But that's a blueprint of how you can do this. But you got to get really good offensive play to keep you in, even when, like this year, you're set up pretty decently. You have a good amount of picks. That's the thing, Tone. They can use some of those later picks to get up a little bit higher, either in the first round or, into the second round with guys. Like, you got to hit these, but it can't look like Jalen Carter, yes, but a bunch of guys you don't know about. We don't know about Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis and whatever. Like, they have to come in right away and play. You're going to be a lot younger on that side of the ball. You just are.
Yeah. I think at least, because I think they have 9 draft picks.
Yeah.
There's going to be at least 2 or 3 of those guys that they're expecting to play right away.
Yeah.
And that's why nailing this draft is going to be crucial. And again, we have no idea what the moves they're going to make in free agency. Maybe they make something to supplement the roster, but overall, I think you're expecting at minimum 2 to 3 of those rookies to come in and make an immediate impact. Especially if you move on from Bradbury and draft the corner, you're asking him to come in and be a starter right away.
Well, that's why also, like, you're right. You can never discount them taking an offensive lineman, but man, especially if Kelsey comes back, you're not in a position to really start doing the depth thing. Like, you have to draft for people who could step in there right now.
Because what it goes back to, right? It always goes back to that Jalen Hurts window and that contract.
Yep.
You want to maximize while these cap hits are what they are.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's come back and let's go through. And the Eagles hold the 22nd overall pick right now, by the way. Easy fixes versus challenging fixes for this team, and what exactly we're looking at as we go into all of these periods. And during the NFL segment, we'll go through all the important dates that you're going to want to know about. So we'll get into all those kind of things when we come back. That is Tone. I am Rob. We're Sports Take. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances is so critical, right? And you don't want to waste any more time if you are not getting the proper kind of assistance, the proper kind of guidance that you need. I can tell you from personal experience that somebody that I trust is Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. You might have a small business and you're trying to get your employee benefits off the ground. That's another resource that Jim can help you with. I know I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be as well. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You can email him as well, Murray, MURRAY, .jim@principal.com. That's Murray.jim@principal.com.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust, and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, welcome back, friends. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Tone and Rob hanging with you on this Tuesday. I'm trying to see if the snow has stopped here. It looks like it has. All right, so I got my work cut out for me as soon as this thing's over.
Don't you miss the days when your son was home and you say, hey, go out there and shovel that?
Oh, dude, I miss the days when I would just get a sled or something and just go have fun with this crap instead of digging myself out. But those days are long gone, my friend. All right, so let's look at easy fix versus challenging fix. Now, I'm going to start with the easier one, and some people may say you're nuts. This might be the most complex one. Hear me out. Jalen Hurts. 2 years ago, last 2022, the guy is a runner-up MVP, put together the kind of year that got him a $250 million contract that made a lot of people, a lot of doubters kind of say, all right, my bad. I missed the boat on this kid, blah, blah, blah. It's there. I'm a big believer in if you've shown it, you can do it. I can get you back there if I've seen that you can do it, if you have the potential. And I think it's big in your own head if you do something that I can go there. I've been there. So I think Kellen Moore has got to come in and work on some things with him, and they got to straighten him out in the pocket. And hopefully that knee is good to go and he's physically back. That's the hard thing for me to project. I don't know. He did look slower last year, but I know that it's there with him. You just have to get it back to, for whatever happened last year happened, move on and work on getting him back to the 2022 version of himself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. First and foremost, get that footwork right. Get that confidence back, because again, 20 turnovers, or 19 to be exact, is unacceptable. You can't do that. It's just, you can't win football games that way, or at least it makes it much harder to win football games. We see some quarterbacks who turn the ball over a lot and they're capable of still winning the games, a la Josh Allen. But it still comes with its own set of risk, and you still don't want that happening regardless. So you don't want to get too comfortable turning the ball over, to that degree. I'm with you again. I believe Jalen Hurts is very capable of cleaning up his deficiencies. I want Jalen Hurts to get back to playing Jalen Hurts style of football. Whatever Kellen Moore provides, it all remains to be seen. I'm not going to say anything negative about the Kellen Moore hire. I'm not going to say anything overtly positive about it as well. We need to see what Kellen Moore provides and how he can marry that with Jalen Hurts' skill set, because Jalen Hurts was at his best in 2022. And last year, although he threw the ball more and had less rushing yards and attempts, and he was still relatively accurate to the same degree, had more turnovers because they relied more so on his pocket presence rather than the RPOs. So I think they need to really they need to find a way to get him back to playing his style of football while also still improving his pocket awareness and his ability to see the full field. not just the field in sections. He needs to be able to get through all those progressions. But again, I want Jalen Hurts to play his brand of football, that dual threat style that makes him lethal, makes him a legitimate threat. Did you know in that playoff game, he only ran the ball one time against the Buccaneers?
Yeah, this is the other thing that's such a mystery to me, Tone. What I can't figure out is from the beginning of the season, he looked hesitant.
From the beginning, game one. And
I don't know that it was him saying, man, I just got paid $250 million and I want to be able to have a long career. Or the Eagles beat it into his head like, dude, we need you to be careful out there. We can't lose you. Let's be smart about this. Or the knee started bothering him as the season went on and he physically just couldn't do it. But I would rather, no risk it, no biscuit, man. I would rather get back to him doing what he does best as a dual threat quarterback than this sort of hesitant thing that they did with him last year. I think it's a mistake.
Let me ask you this real quick. Would you, if you were able to get a Super Bowl out of Jalen Hurts' career and he only was able to really give you 8 or 9 years of real high quality quarterback play, would you take that rather than 15 years of okay quarterback play?
You can cut that to 5 years, Stone. I would. I mean, yes, I would. I would.
Okay.
If I can get one out of him and get 5 quality years, okay, that's fine.
And I'm totally with you on that, right? If we have let's just say the length of the contract, right?
Yep.
I think there's about 4 or 5 years on it.
Yep.
If Jalen Hurts manages to deliver a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles and can never play to that level again or whatever it may be because of injury or whatever it is, I think his time in Philadelphia is a win.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Total. Look, this is the ultimate. I hate to go so cliche on you, but it is a not for long league. Things change. Like the stuff we saw with Brady and all that, and probably what we're going to see with Mahomes, just is rare. There's a lot of turnover in this league, and there's a lot of guys that move on quickly. It's so hard to win it. If you can get one and you have major roster turnover by 2029, and he's part of that at 30, whatever, okay. I would rather. Think about it, man. They've won 1 Super Bowl in 58 years. You tell me I can get one in the next 5, and then after that, I don't know what he's going to look like physically. Easy for me to say it's going to be his body, but I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm totally good with it too. Look, and that's the cross you bear. You put your NFL player. You decided early on that you're willing to sacrifice your body for glory. You decided pretty early. So again, if I can get 1 Super Bowl out of Jalen Hurts' career and it only lasts 7-8 years, in Philly or whatever it may be, I'm taking that sacrifice. That's the sacrificial lamb, in my opinion.
And that's where, to me, let's get him back to what you did in 2022 and you had such great success with him.
Right.
Let's get him in his comfort zone with the RPOs. Let's get the defense being back on its heels, not having any idea what's coming at them, as opposed to, we kind of know he's not going to run. So we don't really have to worry about that part of it.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think the organization, because it's clear that they advised him to think twice about running last year. It's clear, in my humble opinion. Why do you think they're so hung up on making this guy last 15 years or 20? Like, why do you think they're so hung up on that? If you get something out of it, if you have this guy under contract, it's a contract for a reason. Mm-hmm. If you have him for 5 years and he gets your Super Bowl and he's never that same player again, all right, just re-up, start a new, start the quarterback search over again. I mean, I don't understand why they're so hell-bent on trying to protect him. Let him play his style of football at the end of the day.
I would say, the obvious answer is they just gave him 250, right? And they want to return on their investment.
Super Bowl is the return.
No, I agree. You're saying in the scenario where he wins one. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think the other part is too, they're just coming off the whole Wentz thing, which maybe affects a little bit of the way that they're thinking. And they, he just got his deal and then all of a sudden they had to eat it. So I don't know. That shouldn't probably affect you, but maybe it does. I just think they also felt like his style of play is risky. And it's
why pay him, right?
Then why are you paying him?
To your point, why pay him?
You're paying him to be who he is.
Right. But now you're trying to change him to an extent, right? It's
right.
It's very strange to me how they handled this.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
You paid him based off of what he showed you in 2022, but you're trying to change him to an extent in 2023. And do you have buyer's remorse? What is that? You know what I'm saying?
Isn't it? But isn't this so critical that they all have like a come to Jesus this offseason? Like where
there's no way they can't.
Right. Where they look at it, where Howie and Jeffrey and Nick and look at it and say, you know what, man, I know what our thought process was here with Jalen, but we have to get back to letting him be him. And and that's part, obviously Kellen Moore's in on that conversation, but you have got to, we talk about it all the time. You play to players' strengths. You don't drop Hassan Reddick into coverage. Let him go after the quarterback. The guy's an edge rushing machine. Get Jalen Hurts back doing what he does, man. Let these guys be them. So I'm hoping that that's the case. So that's the reason I bring up Jalen. And I also look at Jalen. I mean, let's face it. He's surrounded by a core that should allow him to have success. He still has a very good offensive line. He has 2 stud receivers that quarterbacks would kill for. And I think whoever gets behind this O-line will rush for 1,000 yards. I believe that. So that's all a good foundation and a good base.
And look, those guys are all coming up on their paydays. I mean, it's going to be harder and harder to keep this core together on offense. The A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith marriage is only temporary. It's not going to be able. They're not going to be able to sustain it, for the extent of 5+ seasons. They're just not. So they have to maximize this timeline. It's so imperative. It's not just about Jalen Hurts. It's about the contract. It's about having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in the same building while you can, because there's going to come a point in time where Jalen Hurts is not going to have both those guys. He may have one of them, and he may have a solid tight end, and he's going to have to elevate everybody else around him. He's going to have to elevate his game enough where he can make other people. Jalen Hurts is going to have to position himself to be a quarterback where he can elevate C+ guys into maybe B- B level guys.
Right.
Right. And it's not easy to do, but when you're paid that kind of money, that's what they're paying for. And, again, it's just as simple as Jalen Hurts getting back to playing his style of football and the Philadelphia Eagles maximizing this timeline. That's what it's all about. Every decision I make if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles involves the timeline and the length of this contract. Anything else beyond that, I'll deal with it when it comes.
All right, Leo, let's go with the hard part, the challenging part, if you will. Defensive line fell off, even though there's talent there last year.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
that
have
just sounds crazy, doesn't it? That just sounds insane.
Yeah.
It fell off, but there's talent there.
It's scary because you don't have enough talent at linebacker, safety, or corner. Mm-hmm. So, especially in light of what could be happening with Reddick, I got to tell you, Tone, I have a hard time making a case for the defense in any way. I just do. I can't blame you. I think Jalen Carter's going to be awesome next year, but all right, name one player you feel uber confident about next year on defense.
On defense? Well, you already said Jalen Carter, so that's that. Milton Williams. I'm pretty confident.
I like Milton, but I
like Milton. I mean, I don't think he's a superstar.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a superstar, but I'm pretty confident that he's going to, continue to provide what he provides. Jordan Davis has given me too many different things to look at. I mean, out of a 34 game sample size, he's really only give you 8 games of really solid play.
Oh, we got a little breaking news here.
Really?
Son Reddick just tweeted out, never asked for a trade. However, I do understand it's a business, preparing for whatever's next. Jordan Schultz, I want to make sure I'm giving him the proper attribution of Bleacher Report, okay? NFL Insider said, just tweeted out, just spoke to all-pro pass rusher Hassan Reddick, who tells me he never requested a trade and wants to stay in Philadelphia. Quote, I would like to get an extension done here at home. At no point did I ever tell the organization I wanted to be traded. This is home for me. I was born and raised. 2 of the most fun years in playing football in my life came here. I cherish being an Eagle. Okay. This changes things a little bit here.
This just got really interesting.
Damn.
Because here's the thing, right? Maybe he didn't formally request a trade, right? Maybe he didn't formally do that. But is it reasonable to say the Eagles and his representation spoke about, well, look, we know what you're asking for. We know what you want. We don't know if we can meet those demands.
Correct.
you find someone who can. Maybe he didn't request it, but maybe they motivated him to find someone who can.
Yes.
Does that make sense? I mean,
yes. Here's where the story holds up. The asking for a trade, kind of, or no. Sorry. Let me make sure I'm phrasing this properly. Here's where giving Hassan Reddick and his camp permission to seek a trade still kind of holds up. And it's what you just said. Okay. Let's say his agent, excuse me, and Howie had a conversation and they're far apart, right? To the point where Howie says, look, we get it. If you guys want to seek out in the open market, the kind of deal that you're looking for. Okay. You have permission to do that because it would be considered, what's the word I'm looking for here? Tampering. So if he's allowed to look without, you can request it. Like, in other words, Howie could initiate that conversation and say, look, we're giving you guys permission. We get it. Right. I guess that sort of goes along the line of what
permission doesn't permission
doesn't imply like he's saying I want out of here.
Exactly. Right. Permission given doesn't automatically imply that you want it.
Yeah.
It's just saying that window is open for you if that's the route you take.
And here's why Hassan getting this out there is also really smart by him.
Okay. Break it down.
Because now you're putting the ball back in the Eagles' court. In other words, he's playing on the fans' loyalty to him, and the fan base really likes Hassan Reddick. He's a Philly kid, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And also, who's going to trade for a guy that doesn't want to be there? Like, who's going to trade for a guy that doesn't want to leave?
Well, but he's also saying, like, hey, I want to be here, man. I grew up in camp. I grew up right over the bridge. Yeah. I had my 2 most fun years here. I don't know anywhere. That's on them. I want to be here.
You're cooking. You're right. He instantly put the onus back on the Eagles to get the deal done.
Yeah,
instantly. He's playing the PR game, and this is how it goes. This is how it works. You know what I mean? No, like what we're seeing here is nothing new under the sun, right? You know,
it's nothing happens all the time.
Yeah, it's nothing for anyone to jump out the window about. But this is just how the negotiations work. You want to you want to play the PR game. You want to use the fan base. Against the team, because people don't. I haven't heard anybody that wants him going. Let me make that clear. I haven't heard anybody that wants him going. I don't want him going.
I certainly don't want him going. I don't like the notion of this at all.
Yeah, I know I've broached the idea of trading him because I'm thinking about the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
But do I want him going? No. I like what he provides. He's a hell of a pass rusher, one of the best in the NFL. So, I think what he's doing is extremely smart. Now the onus is back on the Philadelphia Eagles to try to get something done. But again, the bird is still out there, that the fact that they gave him permission to seek a trade.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
the bird is still out there.
Here, all right. Let's go on record right now. February 13th at 12:18 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's back on a restructured deal. I think they'll lower his cap hit this year. He'll get money up front.
Mm-hmm.
That'll compensate for whatever the base is that's lower, and they'll tack on a year. So I think he'll get this year, next year, which gets him into his 30-31 season, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then probably both sides, part ways, unless he goes crazy the next 2 years, which he might. I mean, he could go off and get 15 sacks, and then all of a sudden you got to rethink everything. But I'm not saying this totally sways everything, but I think it's an interesting counter move by Reddick's camp and himself as well. Smart.
Right. Because again, him and his representation spoke about this. They've had since the news broke on Sunday. So today's Tuesday.
Right. Yes.
Sometimes the NFL feels like it's moving in dog years. One day feels like a week sometimes. But all this news dropped on Sunday. Today's now Tuesday. He finally spoke out and said something. Okay. So we're moving. Something is moving. Believe it or not. And like you said, let's go on record here. Tuesday, February 13th, 11:20 my time. I think Hassan Reddick is back on a restructured deal. I think they restructure and then extend, drop some guaranteed money at his feet, and then we have Hassan Reddick at least for the next 2 to 3 years at the most.
Yeah, at the most. Let's read the quote again. Attribution to Jordan Schultz here, and you can follow him at Schultz _report. Just spoke to Eagles All-Pro rusher Hassan Reddick. Tells me he never requested a trade, wants to stay in Philly. Quote, I would like to get an extension done here. He's also saying, hey, this is what I want. I'm not happy with my salary, but I want to stay here with an extension. I'm reading into everything I'm reading, but I would like to get an extension done here at home. At no point did I ever tell the organization I wanted to be traded. This is home for me. I was born and raised here. 2 of the most fun years playing football in my life came here. I cherish being an Eagle. Okay. So, he's hitting a couple notes. He's playing on the heartstrings of the fans a little bit with the whole I love Philadelphia thing. He's also putting it out there that what I'm making now is not satisfactory. Okay. So I want an extension done. And he's also giving you the, hey, but whatever happens, I understand this is a business. And, we may have to, or they may have to do what they have to do. So he's covering kind of every base, in my opinion. Heartstrings, practical businessman, and kind of giving you the back end of that thing of where it could go.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at him for wanting to get in front of this thing. Ultimately, you want to be able to speak for yourself at some point. And
I think it's actually a really upfront way to do it, what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's toxic. I don't think it's problematic. I think he's just saying, look, I don't want to leave here, right? I'm a homegrown kid. I went to Temple. You know what I mean? This I would love for things to, end here. But at the same time, I understand everybody has their needs, right? He knows the situation with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? He knows he has the highest cap hit. He knows he has the highest base salary. He knows it's hamstringing him right now. Yeah. So I think in knowing all that, he's saying, look, although you have your limitations, just know that I want to be here. And whatever happens, just know it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And I respect that at the end of the day.
I think, too, the other thing, to take into account with this, again, this is the stuff we don't know behind the scenes, right? But the Eagles may already have their mind made up. Like, we're moving on, man. And I'm not saying they are. I'm just.
I wouldn't even say that. I think they have the number that they're not moving from.
Yeah, like this is what it is.
I think it's that more so than anything.
And they may have already discussed it, and they may have already bottom lined it for him and said, "Hey, look, this is where we're at, and if this doesn't work, we get it. You got to look elsewhere. Go right ahead. We want value in return, and it's going to be at our price. But yeah, you can move. You can do what you got to do."
We have a good question from Ty Williams. He says, if we lose him, do you think Chase Young would be a good pickup? Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question, Ty, because as of right now, Chase Young has a pretty fair market value right now. And again, we have that's not a guarantee, but Chase Young, a guy coming off of a Super Bowl appearance, he played very well in that Super Bowl, and he's obviously coming off of being injured the year before.
A lot of injuries in his young career.
A lot of injuries in his young career. Wants to prove that he still can play at a high level. Former number 2 overall pick, first round out of Ohio State. Yep. As of right now, his market value is an average of $13 million per season. For an edge rusher, that's not that bad. That's actually less than what Hassan Reddick is making right now. For a young guy at age 24, you take a flyer on Chase Young, bring him in on a 1-year deal.
Right.
That could be an option. So Ty, that's a good pull by you.
It's a good name. I think he is. I think there's a lot of talent there, Tone. I think he's been caught up in injuries, and I think he's been caught up in kind of a crappy situation in Washington prior to getting traded, to the Niners. He would be a very interesting guy for me. Take a flyer is a little strong, but to take a shot on Chase Young. But they're going to have to do that kind of thing. This can't just be drafting. You're going to have to get some proven vets if you lose this guy.
Absolutely. It's not going to be a simple fix if you lose him. It's not whatsoever. But like he said, the business goes the way the business goes. You want him here. I want him here. All we can do is really see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, I think the thing is too, and I saw I'm awake. Are you just give me 7 to 10 sacks a year? The problem is, but they're really lacking overall now because we don't know what Nolan Smith's going to be. We don't know if Brandon Graham's going to be here, what he's going to bring because his sacks went way down last year. we did this comp yesterday with how a lot of guys went down sack-wise. I don't know for sure what Jordan Davis is going to bring to the table. I just don't know. So you go into it. There's too much uncertainty right now for me to feel really good about this. Like, I get it. It might make it to a point where, like we just talked about, that the Eagles and Reddick's camp are just too far apart and it's over. But I'm gonna say he comes back. I will. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think he comes back. Like you and I said. They restructure. They extend. They drop a big bag of money at his feet. And they maybe increase his annual salary from 15 million to maybe 17, maybe 18.
Yeah.
But I have it on strong authority. I feel that they don't want to even scratch 20 million with him. He obviously wants that, but listen, the players care about the guaranteed dollars more than anything. I'm pretty sure his agent is already speaking to people around the NFL, gauging how they're valuing Hassan. And you want him back. I want him back. You and I both think he will be back. Just under different terms.
Yep. And but I'm with you. Like, the returns on guys in their 30s who are undersized aren't great. So I think 2 years makes perfect sense if you can do it. With a restructure this year and extension, one more, and then probably that'll be it. That'd be in the line.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? When you're undersized like that, you really depend a lot on your speed. And typically in sports, speed is the first thing to go.
Correct.
Not your technique, not your savviness, not your power, your speed. Yeah. And Hassan Reddick without the speed, what is he exactly?
I agree. So, and I agree with Dan. If they bring back Reddick, not a shot in hell, they spend a linebacker. Correct. You will be looking at Nakobe Dean and Zach Cunningham. I'm not even sure they spend a linebacker if Reddick walks.
Right. That's another thing too, right? We're not even guaranteed. Like, let's just say Reddick does walk, right? We're not. It's not even a guarantee they spend money on linebacker anyway. So that's the funny part about it, right then and there.
So true. All right, let's hit it. Let's come back. Anthony Sanfilippo is going to join us. We'll bounce this Reddick thing off of Anthony, but we'll talk some Flyers. We'll talk some Phillies. A lot to get to with Anthony when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Tone. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take. Let's talk about Pro Action Restoration. If you have a home, business, or property and you go through the pain, inconvenience of water, fire, smoke, mold damage, you know how trying that can be, right? Well, the beauty is Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I went through it. I had water damage from an upstairs basement into a downstairs basement, or an upstairs bathroom to a downstairs bathroom. They did a lot of damage to the ceiling, to the wall, to my carpet. They came in, they fixed it, and it was one-stop shopping. They took care of everything. And they worked in conjunction with my insurance company. So they are licensed, bonded, fully insured, and serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. And again, they can handle everything: water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it. They're all good. Give Pro Action Restoration a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
We are back. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Tuesday. We're Sports Take. I'm Rob Ellis. That's Tone to Shields. We are joined by our next guest. You can check out his work at Ant San Philly, crossingbroad.com. Covers the NHL with the Flyers, the Phillies as well, Snow the Goalie podcast, and Crossed Up Phillies. And most importantly, he's celebrating his 21st birthday. Congratulations. I know you're going to celebrate with a beer after your hit that you do here, Ant. So congratulations on that, my man.
Thank you very much, Robbie. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's just another day. Just another day on the calendar anymore.
Hi, man. As I said to you when I asked you to come on, I said it's better than the alternative, my man. So
this is true.
Enjoy it.
Very true.
Yeah.
Before we get to Flyers and Phils, I do because I know you follow all the sports. The latest on Hassan Reddick is he's basically saying, "Hey, I didn't ask for a trade. I'd like to be here. I do want an extension." Are we seeing just the gamesmanship between organizations and players here? Is that what this is? Just classic gamesmanship?
Yeah. And, you got to question what the motivation was of the leaker who gave the original report to all the the national guys, all the media who ran it, right? I mean, what's the motivation to kind of fudge the information? Because it turns out when you read it, I think the story that came out today was that it was offered to his side, knowing that he's got 1 year left, that the Eagles offered to say, if you want, we can explore trade options.
Right.
So this is to say that, Hassan Reddick asked for a trade is kind of a little bit misleading. Mm-hmm. So what's the motivation there? Like, what are you trying to do? Whoever it is that's leaking that information, whether it's the agent or whether it's Howie, whether it's whoever, I'm not sure what the benefit is for either side. So I don't know. It kind of surprises me a little bit that it came to this. You would think that with a player of that magnitude, of that importance to this team, defense is not very good, and he's probably your best player at the current point on the defensive side of the football. To sit there and say you put him in limbo really doesn't make any sense to me. I'm a little perplexed by the whole thing.
Okay. So, Ant, real quick before we transition away from this, what do you think is the most likely scenario? Me and Rob talked about it, and him and I likely believe something will be worked out in the interim. But what do you think is the most likely scenario? Knowing what we know, especially with all these leaks coming out.
Yeah, that's a great question, Tone. I don't know. I would say that it's probably likely now with this story coming out that he stays, more likely that he stays, but I wouldn't put that anywhere close to confident saying that. Like I think that, if we're 50-50, I'm probably like at 51, 52% on that, because I do think that there could still be an option where, hey, listen, I didn't want to be traded, but they end up trading him anyway. But he wanted it clarified that he didn't request the trade.
He's also playing on the fans' heartstrings out there. Like, I love Philly. I'm a Philly guy.
He's a Philly guy. He's local.
Temple guy and all that. Camden. Yeah, he's from
So so very much so. I think that there's that. I think maybe he comes back, but man, that's a tough, especially with Hurts' contract escalating again this year. Like it's going to be interesting to see how you can keep signing all these guys and bringing guys back when you have so many holes to fill.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump a little bit. Let's go Flyers here. They look like an exhausted team before the All-Star break, and to their credit, to the players and the coaches and everybody else, man, they look like a completely different team. 4 straight since the All-Star break. I want to ask you this first, though, before we get into it. What's impressed me all year is they've really played well against big boys, against really good teams. And that's if you get in, that bodes pretty well for you in the playoffs, where I don't know that you're scared when you take on one of those better teams, the higher seeded teams.
Yeah, well, I don't think that they're scared of anybody. The way that the Flyers play, they play such an aggressive north-south style. They play fast but heavy, which is kind of it's kind of an oxymoron.
What heavy?
Yeah, fast but heavy. In the sense that they have guys who stretch the ice and get up and down quick, but they also aren't afraid to forecheck and play physical when they need to. So yeah, they're not going to be afraid of anybody. Where they run into some issues sometimes is they do get a little bit, where they take their foot off the gas just a little bit and try and coast through portions of games, and they're not skilled enough to do that. So what ends up happening is that's when the other teams jump on them. That's why Torts was not happy with them in the game against Winnipeg, even though they won. They got to a great start. First period was awesome. They scored 3 goals in the first period, and they took their foot off the gas. And Winnipeg was really good over the last 2 periods. And, the Flyers just held, Urson was good in that, and they held them off and were able to win that game. But Torts didn't like the fact that for 40 minutes, they were just on cruise control a little bit. Right. So that's something it's more of the mind game at that point. You're pushing for the playoffs. You can't let up at any point. You have to play those 60 minutes and play them all hard, one beginning to end, which they finally did against Seattle. They weren't great last night, but they weren't terrible either. But again, good enough to beat Arizona. They've won 4 in a row. I mean, they're pretty much erased that 5-game losing streak right before the All-Star break. So you can't complain too much.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Rob made me privy to a pretty interesting stat: the fact that they lead the NHL in shorthanded goals. I mean,
12. I think they have.
It is
right.
it
Exactly.
Is
it's fascinating. I mean, speak to that. Is that reflective of the mantra and the mentality that Tortorella has kind of instilled in this young team?
Yeah, it really is, and it's a very aggressive style on the penalty kill. Like, they are always looking. I was actually talking with Garnet Hathaway about this the other night. He's one of the guys on the PK, and it's the 2 forwards at the top. If they get an opportunity to try and make a play, like one goes for it, and as soon as they disrupt it, whether it's tipping a pass or whatever, the other guy is immediately going out of the zone. And it's a little bit risky to do, because if you don't get the puck and get the pass out, all of a sudden now you got a guy out of position, right? But they feel like they're good enough, their defensemen are good enough, and they have enough confidence in their goaltending that they can take those chances. And that more often than not, those chances will lead to something good happening. And when you have 12 shorthanded goals at this point in the season, that's really a lot. I mean, I don't it shouldn't be looked at, say, oh, it's only 12 goals over the course of whatever they've played, 54 games or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. In this sport, it's a lot. And so that has been a difference maker for them this year, because their power play does not score goals. They were 0 for 8 on the power play last night. It's the worst power play in the NHL. So to get so now, just imagine if you take those 12 goals that are shorthanded goals and put them on the power play side. Now you're probably middle of the pack, right? And so they've been able to make a difference for the team in a lot of close games, getting those shorthanded goals. And that's, those are points that the Flyers are getting in the standings that they otherwise wouldn't have. So that has been a big part of their team this year.
So, and is this the matter of unbelievable coaching job by Tortorella, or guys that they thought would take longer to develop? The process has been sped up for whatever reason. They're just playing better than they anticipate. Like, what is the reason behind this? Because I don't, and you speak openly on this. Do you think did you think they were going to be this good?
No, not at all.
I didn't either.
No, I remember beginning of the season, I think the over-under for them on points for the year, I think, was 74.
Yeah.
And I said that they would probably be just over that. Like, I thought that they would be like a 77, 78 point team. That's kind of where I thought, just under 500, competitive, but not really in this playoff race. They're going to blow well past that number. They're going to be, around 90 points or maybe even a little bit higher than that. So they're going to be, they're surprising even me. But to answer your question, I think it's more, I give the coaches a lot of credit. I really do. Because they're getting a lot out of guys that you didn't think that they were going to get. Yeah. The sum is greater than the, whatever that saying is, the parts, right? Yeah. Whatever the total thing is there. But some guys are developing a little faster. Cam York's quietly had a really strong defensive season. Tyson Forster, I don't think anyone ever thought that this kid was going to be a two-way player. He was considered a sniper, but never really talked about his defensive side of his game, and that's really developed strongly this year. So there are some kinds of developments that have come up out of these players, but on the whole, when you put this team together and the way that they play, they're buying into a system that this coaching staff, led by John Tortorella, has instilled in them, and they're buying in. They're buying into it, and they're playing it. They play what they call a black and bruise game. And what that means is they block a ton of shots. They are not afraid to put their bodies on the line, get in front. I mean, the last few games, their goalies.
Was it last night?
Yeah. I mean, they've only had to make like 22 saves, 17 saves for Cal Peterson the other night. Like, in the Florida game, I think after they took the lead, the Florida Panthers had one shot on goal the entire rest of that third period. And it was from the blue line. It wasn't even a great shot. Like, they are just getting in the way of everything and shutting teams down, taking away the middle of the ice. It's a very good system, and they are playing it to a T.
And since we're all in agreement that this team is playing way better than we ever anticipated, has your opinion necessarily changed on their ceiling? And if so, how does that influence what they do at the trade deadline?
That's a great question too. I mean, when you say their ceiling for this season, they're not going to win the Stanley Cup, right? And nor do I think that they're going to be there towards the end of the playoffs. To me, getting into the playoffs is a fascinating and fantastic outcome for this club, considering where they were at this point.
It's funny. They're the polar opposite of every other Philadelphia team. Like, you're happy they get in the playoffs. We'd be killing somebody if they lost. Any other team lost.
They've been dead for a while, Rob. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Like to me, that is you're playing with house money.
Yeah.
Once you get in, do I think they can beat somebody in the playoffs with the way they're playing? Yeah, they could surprise somebody. I mean, Torts did this before. He did it with Columbus a few years back. I don't know if you remember. Tampa Bay had the best record in the history of hockey in the regular season. And then they got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round, Torts coach team that played a very similar style. I don't think it could win long term. I think that one good team after another, eventually somebody's going to catch you, right? And so therefore, it probably doesn't win. But can they make a little bit of a run? I think so. As for the trade deadline, though, I think that's a separate question, Tone, because I think what's going to happen here is that they are still looking to move a couple guys. And it really will depend what they can get back in return. If the assets they're getting are just future assets, as in draft picks or prospects that aren't in the NHL right now, well, then that's going to impact the product on the ice this year. But it may be better for the team long term. If they're going to get somebody back who can help now, even if you're sending somebody else out and it's like what they call, quote unquote, a hockey trade. What they mean by that is that it's helping both teams in the present. Well, then I think they can continue to do what they're doing this season. So it's going to be a real fascinating trade deadline on March 8th.
So real quick, who do you think likely may be heading out the door? Who do you think is the most valuable asset for them heading out?
Well, the most valuable asset is probably Sean Walker, right-handed defenseman, who's had a really nice season. We had Craig Berube on Snow the Goalie the other day from the game, and he called him a steady Eddie. Said he's the most steady defenseman, just goes out. You don't worry about him. You know he's going to do his job. He's going to get it done, and he's right-handed, which is a rarity. That's like a left-handed reliever in baseball, right? I mean, it's to be a right-handed shooting defenseman is a very, very
Drysdale. That was one of the draws of Drysdale.
Yeah, for sure. So, there's a lot of value in him, especially because he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So there's no financial commitment for teams beyond the last 15, 20 games of this season. And he's a veteran. So there's a lot to like about him. You could probably get a first-round draft pick for Sean Walker, a late first-round draft pick. Maybe a second, but with maybe being a condition on a first. But like that's the most valuable guy you have. But he's been really good. Do you look at it and say, maybe we keep him around if we can move another defenseman instead? So that's the juggling that Danny's going to do. And the other name is Scott Lawton, who had a great game last night.
Oh,
right?
what a move!
Yeah,
I mean.
And he was getting high sticked on the goal.
He got drilled in the face and still had that sick wraparound.
Yeah, right? Oh. So he had a great game last night. But his name's been out there now too. When they re-signed Ryan Poehling, who's been really good for them since they've re-signed him, people you kind of look at it and say, well, Poehling's the replacement for Lawton in the next couple of years. And let's get something for Lawton. And I think that there will be value for Lawton too, because the best centers that were available at the trade deadline, well, they already got traded. And there was Elias Lindholm went from Calgary to Vancouver, and then Monahan went from Montreal to Winnipeg. They already went. And so barring other guys really being put out there, Lawton is a guy that championship contending teams would love to add to their third line. He can bring you something in return too. But again, what's the asset that's coming back? And I think that will be let's talk again after March 8th, and then I'll give you a much better assessment of whether I think they hold on to a playoff spot or not.
All right, let's jump over to Phil's here. Pitchers, catchers.
Tomorrow.
I know. I already saw that. I'm seeing the video of Dombrowski looking at prospects. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So they take a little shot at Spencer Turnbull, low risk, high reward, maybe. Who knows? Dombrowski knows him from the Tiger days or whatever. Do you feel like, at least for right now, Ant, that they're kind of rolling with this? There's not going to be anything of note addition-wise to either the rotation or as a position player?
I think that they would make an addition in the rotation if the market came back to them. But they don't want to make a long-term commitment to that's the thing. I think Jordan Montgomery is a guy that they would certainly be interested in and slotting him into the rotation, probably ahead of Taijuan Walker, right? And so he probably becomes your 3, and then you have Suarez and 4, and maybe Sanchez as 5. And I think that makes an improvement to your rotation. But they don't want to make the money that I think Montgomery's still looking for. That's why he's not signed yet, right? And so they're kind of laying in the weeds there. If Montgomery's price came down to where they would want him, then I think that they could do something like that. I also think they could still get one of these 4th outfielders, like an Adam Duvall type, right, who's still out there and makes a lot of sense, right-handed, kind of, can play against the lefties, that kind of thing. Got some pop and be a better bench bat than what they have on the bench. But again, those guys are looking for guarantees on playing time, and until you get that, they're probably going to look elsewhere. And so then as time moves on here, I think if these guys aren't signed by the end of the month and we suddenly hit March and it's like, we're up against it now. Yeah. And then these guys might change their mind and change their tune, and then the Phillies could pounce. But otherwise, I do think you're right. I think what you see is what you got for this team for going into spring training.
Yeah, and last week, Dave Dombrowski made an appearance on WIP, and he was talking about how just because we're quiet doesn't mean we're not active, right? And I'm curious, Dombrowski, he's made a lot of moves for this Phillies team over the past few years. Speak on the level of optimism he provides his organization because of the swings he's not afraid to take and because how all in he is on this Phillies roster.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I just look at the track record, right? The guy's won everywhere he's been. I mean, really look at what he's done. I mean, he won in Florida. He won in Detroit. Didn't win a championship. Got to the World Series with Detroit twice, and he won in Boston. So the guy is a winner, and he's gotten the Phillies to the World Series since he's been here. So he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to put teams together. And he's not. It's the combination of his ability to go out and get the players that a team needs, and the fact that John Middleton and the ownership group is not afraid to spend money to do it. And so I think that's one of those things where you have the perfect storm for a team to be in contention year in and year out while you have the star players that you have in their prime. And so, if Dombrowski wants to go into the season with what he has, and there might still be some couple of holes. The bench might have a spot. You might have a hole in the bullpen. We'll see what happens in center field. They believe in Rojas, but we'll have to see how he hits for a little bit. If you have any of those holes that need to be filled in July, that's when he'll fill them. And he's patient enough to figure that out and not overspend now. And the one thing I always say in defense of this approach, how many teams that win the offseason go on to win the World Series?
That's a good point.
Look at the Dodgers, the last however many years, right?
I mean,
Example.
It doesn't happen, right? So whoever wins the offseason doesn't always win the World Series. So I think that he has a good sense of the timing of things and when they need to happen and how they're going to happen. And he'll make the team better when it needs to be made better.
Let's go to back end of the rotation here.
Yeah.
Which I'm concerned about. I feel good about the first three. I'm not 100% sold what we got from Christopher Sanchez carries. Maybe it does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Taijuan Walker, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they tried to move him, but his contract is a tough one. Where's your faith level in that group, and how quickly do you think something could happen there?
Well, that's why I think that they're still in on the Montgomery conversation, because I think that they're not. I don't think they are incredibly confident with the 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah.
Do they believe that they can get by with it? Like, hey, we think Sanchez that changeup plays at this level, and he can be a guy that can get you through 5 innings, 6 innings, and keep you in games. Fine, yeah, but we'll see if he can do it again. The Walker thing is he's just an innings eater. And they don't like the fact that he gets lit up in the first inning and then figures it out after that.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to make he gives you 6 innings where you're down 5-0 in the second. Great.
It's so weird that he's so bad in the first inning and then he's really good after that. I don't understand, maybe it's his pregame routine. I don't know. But they would certainly want to upgrade that. And I think that that's why they're still kind of in the market there. But I do think that they look at it and say, we have enough depth there that we can maybe out-hit some of the deficiencies that they have.
Right.
And then, again, when we get to July, if we feel like we need to replace somebody in that 4 spot, we go do it then. But they think that they haven't. I think a lot of these ads, like you mentioned Turnbull, Colby Allard that they brought in, and they still have a Nick Nelson, and they have guys that are there that can come up and give you a couple of starts here and there and get you through to the point where you say, okay, now we have to have a rotation for the playoffs. Let's go get that 4th arm and go out there and try and win this thing.
Okay.
Final question from me, and I think we're all in agreement here that the World Series window for the Philadelphia Phillies is now.
Yeah.
And when you think about it from that perspective, they made it to the NLCS last year, Game 7, made it to a Game 6 to the World in the World Series the year before. I mean, when you climb that hill time and time again, you keep falling short. At some point, the mental fatigue has to set in at some point. I mean, where's your faith level when it comes to this team probably avoiding that? That thing on the season.
That's tough, man. I mean, let's think back to the last team that won a World Series here, 2008, right? Phillies win the World Series. 2009, they lose the World Series. 2010, they lose the NLCS. 2011, they lose the Division Series, right? I mean, so they went backwards 1 step each year. And then 2012, they missed the playoffs entirely until then they had to start the rebuild. Here the Phillies went to the World Series, lost the NLCS. I mean, they could take that step backwards again just because you're putting so much extra time and energy into it. And you don't know. I mean, when you look at the National League now, I mean, the Braves aren't going away. They're still, in my mind, the best team in baseball. The Phillies just happen to have their number the last 2 years, but I'll tell you that the Braves want to get past the Phillies. That's a thing for them this year. We all know about what the Dodgers have done, and so everybody is going to be talking about them. And you have other teams too that are going to be competitive in the National League. The National League is loaded.
Really good.
It's a really good league. And so do I think the Phillies are going to be in the playoffs again? I do, but I don't think that there's any, it's going to be any easier than it's been the last 2 years. We might be in the same boat. Like we're chasing Atlanta again, and they got to be a wild card again, and they got to figure out their way through a 3-game series against some upstart team in the first round, and then find their way and beat Atlanta or beat the Dodgers in the second round, and then if you get any further, maybe you have to beat one of them again in the third round. But I mean, that's really what it's going to be, and it's just their lot because of who else is in the league with them.
Yeah. And good stuff, man. Good stuff. We love talking to you. I know Torts gives you a hard time, but we love talking to you, brother.
I'm glad. It's because I don't have to ask you guys any questions. So, you guys ask me the questions.
We ask the questions.
You ask the questions. If I was asking questions, maybe you wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah, I hear you. Appreciate it, Ant. Thanks for a couple minutes.
Thank you, Anthony. We appreciate you, sir.
Check him out on Twitter, anytime. Of course, with the crossed up. Snow the goalie, all good stuff. Thanks, Ant. So yeah, I concur with a lot of that with the Phillies. You're looking at a Miami team that's always pesky with the Diamondbacks, who are going to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, they're young and getting better.
Right, exactly, and they're feeling good about themselves after the way they performed last year. Arizona is. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. All right, let's get a quickie in. We'll come back. And we will talk football. We have a lot of stuff to get to NFL wise. We'll circle back to the ratings from the Super Bowl, all that good stuff. All right, let's talk about Flynn Tree Services. They're an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problems that you may face. So if you have any issues in your yard, on your property, they're just a quick phone call away, and they are experts at trimming all types of trees. And they serve southeastern PA, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Keep in mind, we got some rough weather right now. When this subsides a little bit, might be a good time to get your trees evaluated. You can go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday. Watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the sports betting show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
There we go. We are back. About an hour of the program. Tone and Rob hanging out. All right, Tone. So I thought this was interesting. The COO of the Rams is Kevin Demoff. And he's been with the Rams since they were in their St. Louis days. Steve Spagnuolo used to be the coach of the Rams. In fact, he was the Rams coach from 2009 to 2011. And it was a bad stretch. I mean, they had no talent. It was just a total disaster.
Yeah.
They went 10-30.
It was a lose-lose for everybody.
Yeah, but bad all around. Now, if you noticed a couple days ago, I was yesterday, I think, Tyreek Hill on social media asked, why doesn't Steve Spagnuolo get any head coaching interviews? I talked to Rob Motti last night. Rob Motti said Steve Spagnuolo absolutely would welcome being a head coach. So he's not in Jim Johnson mode where he's out.
Oh, okay. See, and that's what I was about to counter with that. I was about to say maybe he just doesn't want it. But that's a good question.
He does. So that is interesting. So Kevin Demoff, who is the Rams COO in Los Angeles now, usually don't see other organizations doing this, but he put a tweet out and he said, it's well past time to see Spags get another head coaching opportunity. The team and organization he inherited in St. Louis was a mess. Nobody could have had success, yet he changed the culture / staff and players believed an amazing human being deserving of a real shot that we couldn't give him. Wow. That's really a generous thing to do for that guy, to go to bat for someone who isn't his coach.
That was very self-deprecating for the, for the Rams. Again, he's a guy that's represented the Rams for a long time.
Yeah.
And for him to go out on a limb and say, look, he had no shot. We know it. Everybody, we know it. He knew it. Everybody should know it. Get this guy another job. I mean, what he's done in Kansas City is nothing short of remarkable. The way he's developed those young guys, the way he's called games in these Super Bowls, just the ingenuity, the instincts. I mean, he's an OG in the game, man.
Yeah.
It makes you think. It's funny. Cilio brought this up yesterday, and this is obviously before this report came out. From Kevin Dumoff and all that. He questioned, well, if the Washington Commanders, if you wanted a defensive coach so bad, why not give Spags a call? Right. That's
totally great point.
That's a top candidate right there. Right?
Here's my answer. He's 64. Yeah, I think what's his name? Quinn is like 50, early 50s or whatever. I think it's an ageist thing. I do.
So ageism does still exist in the NFL, despite despite your cachet, despite your accolades. This goes even more to the point that we talk about all the time. These organizations will much rather give a pencil pusher the head coaching job, somebody that they can control and manipulate than someone who has legitimate cachet, legitimate resume. These organizations are trying to transition away from guys like Bill Belichick. They're trying to transition away from guys like Pete Carroll, guys like that. I'm actually surprised that Jim Harbaugh, got the job with the Chargers because of how imposing he can be. But again, you come off of a national championship, and
the Chargers are desperate too.
And the Chargers are desperate. So they're looking at it like this. We've tried that route already. Now we need to bring someone in who can legitimately bring credibility to our organization. So I can understand their angle, right? But again, it goes back to the point where these organizations are more concerned about controlling the narrative and controlling the separation of powers than actually putting the right people in position to actually do things for their organization. I mean, it's the Eagles. The Eagles fall right in line with that. I mean, the Eagles have never hired a person with head coaching experience to be their head coach. That they fall right into that category. So, it's so funny. We can easily get wrapped up in the Eagles side of things, but this is a league-wide problem, not just the Eagles problem. And Case in point, Steve Spagnuolo.
Agreed. And that was the thing. I thought he was of the mindset that he just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Same, because he's never said anything. You never heard anything from him.
Yeah,
you know
he's not a guy who's going to campaign for himself. He's but anyway, the guy's got 4 rings as a coordinator. He's got 3 with the Chiefs and 1 with the Giants. He knocked off that first Patriots team.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so that one.
Think about it from this perspective too, Rob.
Yeah.
You told me this. 4 of the 5 teams, 4 of the top 5 offenses in the NFL, they knocked them off in 1 playoff run alone.
Correct. Average.
You mean to tell me that guy doesn't deserve head coaching opportunity or interview?
Tell me who's a better defensive coordinator? Is it Dan Quinn?
I'm rolling with
Steve
Spag.
Spagnuolo.
I'm rolling with Spag.
Yeah, pretty simple. Pretty simple math there for me.
Dan Quinn's defense collapsed against the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
I mean, let's call it what it is. So Steve Spagnuolo, his track record is unblemished. Two playoff runs in a row.
Yeah.
Last year they ran through the Bills, ran through the Bengals,
the Eagles. And
the Eagles, right?
He made the adjustments in the second half. Yeah,
exactly. So when you think about it from that perspective, the fact that he doesn't have a job is criminal, and it's quite obvious why he doesn't have the job. He's someone who has experience, has a resume, and these organizations aren't trying to play ball with guys who actually have pull.
Yep, or who want pull. Yep,
or want pull.
Well said, Tone. Well said. All right, Tom Brady, who we know is gearing up to take over that number 1 spot for Fox. He'll be paired with Kevin Burkhardt. I don't know what my understanding is. Greg Olson has an out that he could jump to another network, which that'd be interesting to me. Like if I'm CBS or somebody, man, and I know Romo, we got to live with Romo being in that number 1 spot, but man, I'm looking long and hard at. Did
you like him commentating the Super Bowl?
No, I thought he sucked.
I thought he sucked too.
He's diarrhea of the mouth.
He just talks.
He's like a kid with ADD who you just gave, Sour Patch Kids to. He's bouncing off the walls and he never shuts the hell up. That's what Romo is. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's a lot of empty words.
Yes. Yeah. It's talking to be taught. The other thing is if you go back and watch the last touchdown after it happens, I thought Jim Nantz did a good job calling it, but you got to let it breathe. It's on TV. You don't need to be talking over it. Just let the pictures tell the story and the crowd. He's just it never stops.
Yeah, he's approaching Chris Collinsworth territory.
I think he's worse. If you're asking me, I have my choice. Collinsworth.
I'd rather have Chris Collinsworth. I'd rather have Chris.
All day, I'll take Collinsworth.
All day, man. All day. That's why. Listen, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they're the best in the biz.
Yeah,
they're the best in the biz. I think Greg Olson is astronomically better than Tony Romo.
Way better. And he's been doing it for 2 years.
We all know why he has that job, though.
Oh, of course.
We all know.
Man, he's Tom Brady, man, or he's Tony, it's Tony Romo, whatever.
But he's a former Cowboy.
That's true too.
Some Cowboys guys live in the spotlight.
That's true. All right, we talked about this yesterday, the Travis Kelce bump into Andy Reid and how it was sort of just brushed under the rug because they won, because he's Kelce, because it's Taylor Swift, and blah, 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 blah. So Tom Brady was on his Let's Go podcast yesterday, and here's what he had to say regarding it. Quote, there's always little family issues, and of course, I don't mind seeing it because I was part of a lot of those things. Emotions are so high. You're definitely not centered and balanced. You're not in a meditative state at that point. You were fully determined to go out there and to win. So I think a lot of things that are said during games, people should just let them fly off their back. And I actually think Coach Reid handled it just awesome, like he always does, because he just said, I was a little bit off balance and Travis is a competitor and I love it, but it just speaks to the leadership ability, et cetera, et cetera. So, Brady just saying basically this is heat of the moment stuff that happens all the time. Okay.
No one's denying that. No one's denying that it's heat of the moment. No one's denying that emotions are riding high. No one's denying any of that.
Yeah.
Our sole issue is you put your hands on the man. And you notice he didn't speak on
too far.
You notice he didn't say that. Think about that, right?
Right, exactly. He didn't mention that.
And that soliloquy,
he made it sound like he was just being, he was talking.
Boisterous.
Yeah, boisterous.
No, it wasn't just that. He put his hands on that man. He should have did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Listen, you can get rah-rah all you want. It's a passionate moment. I totally get it. I'm not even mad about that. You put your hands on them. That's an issue for me.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Agreed. Did you know this? So Pat Riley, who's the architect of the Heat back in the day, was a great coach for the Lakers.
Knicks.
He trademarked. He trademarked three-peat. So he owns that word.
For real?
Oh yeah, 100% trademarked three-peat back in the day when he was with the Lakers in the late '80s. He did. When they were closing in on their third straight championship, he secured the trademark for it. So he has cashed in on this thing big. The Bulls won 3 championships in a row twice, and he got paid off of that. Okay. And Riley says every penny he makes, and he does well off of it, he donates to charity. But if the Chiefs pull it off, one of Riley's, again, preferred charities would benefit from it. Yeah, it's just unbelievable, man. Like, how smart was that?
I never even knew that. You just blew my mind with that one. I thought that was something that was already in the dictionary or something. Like,
No,
you know what I mean?
But
But
brilliant. It's brilliant by him. It's brilliant.
yeah, listen, Pat Riley is the Don, man. He's the Don Dada. You know what I mean? He moves out, he moves around like Tony Montana, man. He's just smooth criminal.
He and Zoe sitting there watching the games together. All right. So this we talked. I'm going to give you these dates because I'm going to tie it into something here.
Okay.
February 20th, franchise and transition tags can be applied to players. Doesn't happen much anymore, but you can still do that. Okay. February 27th through the 4th is the NFL Combine. March 11th through the 13th, you can start negotiating with unrestricted free agents. March 14th, you can sign free agents. April 25th through the 27th is the draft. Okay, so let's go back to the 20th, which is 7 days from now. Franchise and transition tags can start to be applied. The reports out of Cincinnati are that they expect the Bengals to use a franchise tag on T. Higgins.
Really?
Who could become a free agent at the end, in March, starting in March with the new league year. So this kid's coming from The Athletic. The team has the cap space to carry his salary in 2024, and that Joe Burrow's cap number remains relatively, well, I didn't realize this. Burrow's cap number in 24 jumps from 24 to 25, jumps up 20 million. Wow. So he's kind of reasonable this year. So since he can beat players here, but it looks like they're going to try to tag him, which would get him around 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's what it would get T. Higgins, about 20. I like T. Higgins.
No. I like T. Higgins too. I'm just curious how sustainable. Like, do they plan on?
I think it's a 1-year thing.
Okay, so they must be looking at it like this: we gotta cash in 2024. Yeah. We gotta make a big splash. 2024 has to work because after that we're not gonna be able to pay him because we gotta pay Jamar Chase very soon.
And Burrow's money goes up. Yep.
Right. Then Burrow's money goes up. It gets more complicated. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. But obviously the player doesn't want to be franchise tagged at all.
No. I'd like to be insulted that way though. Hey, we're giving you 20 million for a year, please. Anybody, put a tag on me. I beg of you. No. So the Chiefs have their parade tomorrow, Tone. So they will do it. They will celebrate 11 a.m. in Kansas City. That's a nice little Valentine's Day present for the fans.
Yep.
Yeah, they get that done. It's official. Mike Zimmer, Cowboys. That's a done deal. We've been waiting for that to become official, but it is going to be official, or is done deal. They have agreed. I think it's a smart move by them. It's not flashy necessarily, but I think it's smart.
Yeah. I don't mind it at all. A guy with experience. I'm curious to see what his plan of action is going to be with this defense. I mean, we saw Dan Quinn maximize that defense to the best of his ability throughout the regular season. Again, Mike Zimmer, he's experienced. We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of talent there, but for whatever reason, man, things just go haywire. It feels like with that team. Arthur Blank, no defined plan as far as a quarterback goes. We talked about it a lot the last few weeks. I think that's a very nice way of saying, Desmond Ritter's still here under contract, but Desmond Ridder ain't the guy. So we got to figure something out. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. Atlanta, in my opinion, is a very fascinating destination because I believe they have weapons on offense that you can definitely make things happen with. Their offensive line is okay. Obviously they got Bijan Robinson at running back. The defense is starting to come along, led by Jesse Bates. They spent a lot of money last offseason on defense.
Sure did.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a play for Kirk Cousins. I wouldn't be surprised if they also trade for a guy like Justin Fields. I think those are their two options if they decide to go that route. Or obviously they draft the guy. If they don't like this draft class, they have flexibility by if you bring in Kirk Cousins, it's not going to be a deal that's going to be for 5 years. It's probably going to be a 2-year, 3-year deal. Or if you trade with Justin Fields, you still got him on a rookie contract.
Right.
And you can get out of that relatively within a year or two. So they have some options there, especially like I said, if they don't like the quarterback class this year.
Well, you bring up Cousins. It's really interesting to see what happens there. Do the teams that feel like they're close, like a Pittsburgh or some other team that feels like they're just short, a quarterback, do they go after him? You know what it is. It's 2 or 3 years maximum. But or does Minnesota bring him back? I'm trying to think of other teams that would be in contention.
Right.
For him.
We definitely are overlooking
New
Minnesota
England.
bringing him back.
Yeah. Like if I'm New England, I'm not doing that. I want a young guy that I'll develop.
Yeah. If I'm New England, that's what I would do. I wouldn't, sign Kirk Cousins. That's just me.
Raiders, do they think about it?
I think the Raiders want to actually draft the guy this time. They tried the Jimmy G thing. Who was the quarterback before he got there? Derek Carr. I think they want to start fresh there.
All right. Then that would leave Fields. Fields makes sense in Atlanta if he goes.
I would love to see Fields. I would love to see him in Pittsburgh.
I would love to see him in Pittsburgh too. I wonder if Pittsburgh. There's a lot of talk that they take a run at Russell Wilson. It's not.
Do you think that's a little too rich for them?
I
mean, I know the Rooneys have put a lot of pressure, have put out there that they need to start winning some playoff games. So,
yeah, they've been a little out of character. You usually don't hear from them, man, and they've been pretty public. Like, it's time now. Yeah, we've been close a few years. Let's go. Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, they made the playoffs with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett.
Believe me, I'm not a Steeler fan, but I'm not a Steeler hater either. I would be interested to see what they look like with a good core. They haven't had one since Ben, and
Exactly. Yeah. I've never had an issue with the Steelers, ever. I mean,
I respect the way they do their business.
I respect the way they do the business. I respect their legacy. I love their head coach.
Yeah, same. I'm just trying to think of where other. So there's Russell Wilson, there's Fields, there's Cousins. Is there any other either free agent or a guy on a roster like Fields is and like Wilson is that might move, that might change teams?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I wonder, I guess Mac Jones stays in New England and maybe he's a backup.
Wait, I know Jared Goff. He's coming up. They got to pay him pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't think he's going anywhere either.
Yeah, they're gonna have to pay him. You're right.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
he's out there.
That feels Tampa, doesn't it? I mean, that feels Tampa-ish.
Yeah, I know Gardner Minshew only signed a 1-year deal with the Colts, so he's likely going to be available, right?
That's true. Man, if I'm the Colts, I really would like him to stay because Anthony Richardson. Even though, I mean, he took a beating last year. I would hope.
Ryan Tannehill's going to be in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Ryan Tannehill guy, but he's out there.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at that. Let's look at the teams that would be in line that are most likely to draft. All right, so there's the obvious, right? The obvious ones that are going draft. Chicago's up in the air right now, whether they keep Fields or not. I think they're more inclined to trade him. That's what I would say. He's more inclined to get dealt.
Right. Atlanta needs a quarterback.
Yeah, Atlanta could draft one. I'm just trying to think. The Patriots, I think, definitely will draft a quarterback.
Right.
I think
about Seattle?
Washington. Yeah, Washington's a lock. Giants could. Denver could. Raiders could. Seattle could. Yeah. Yeah.
Tampa, if they're not, I think Baker does come back, but if they don't,
if they don't, he would. Yeah. Yeah.
Tennessee. Well, Tennessee has Will Levis.
No, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about it.
What do you think the Eagles do with the backup quarterback? You think it's Tanner McKay?
I feel like they were like the arrow on the side of more experience there. I don't really know where they go. Do they go Jacoby Brissett? I don't know. I'm kind of unsure.
Yeah.
Also, Mac Jones, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
Year. Right, but he's in the last year of his deal. Yeah.
Right. Do you see them dealing him?
Is there a market for him? I mean, he was a first-round pick, but I don't know that there's any kind of market.
That's true. That's true. Because he always was going back and forth with Bailey Zappi. So
yeah, I think he may be the guy there who starts until whatever rookie you draft you deem ready to go. He might get the first 5 games of the regular season or something like that. He might be interesting to see what they end up doing. All right, a couple other things. So when you mentioned Tom Brady, so he's preparing himself to take over the number 1 spot. He's consulted with Tony Romo. Insert the joke. He's consulted with Aaron Andrews. He's consulting with who he'll be working with on that number 1 team. He's going to different people. He's already done a bunch of games, simulated games with Kevin Burkhardt. You think he'll be good?
Yeah, I heard somebody say he may be too geeky up there.
Too X and O-y, like too.
Yeah. But I don't know how much I buy into that. But I think ultimately because of the experience, when he talks about the game, I like hearing him talk about it. I think he'll be solid. I won't jump off a limb and say he'll be great, but I'm not going to say he's going to be bad either. I think he'll be solid.
Okay.
And then it can only go up from there.
I'm trying to think. What? I think he'll actually be good because here's why I think he's going to be good. Number 1, he's lucky because he's going to get the tune in no matter what because he's Brady. Like even if you're against him sort of pushing Olsen out, you are curious to hear what it's going to sound like.
Of course,
it's Tom Brady. But I considering how hard the guy worked as a player, I think he'll work his tail off as a commentator.
You think that carries over?
I do. Like,
that's
and I see Kevin say Brady's about as dry as paper towels. Yeah, I would agree he is, but that was when he was playing the role of not wanting to give you anything as a player. He was almost like Belichickian in that sense. Like, I thought Troy Aikman was very dry as a player. Troy Aikman's phenomenal as an athlete.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Brady has that podcast too, so he's been getting a lot of reps in, really expressing himself freely. He's been in the headlines a lot this offseason.
Yeah.
And throughout the season, talking about the league and where it's going and the quarterback position play, the quarterback play and all that. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be solid. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think and he's with a guy in Burkhardt who isn't necessarily seeking the spotlight, who will let him shine. I think he's not afraid to tee you up, and let you do your thing. So I think he'll be good in that sense, as a broadcaster. But the money, he's going to make more money off of his Fox contract than he did playing in the NFL, which is there is just some degree of that where you're like, man, it's such, and this is, I guess, the world, America, whatever. The rich get richer, man. The rich just get richer. But when you have the success that he had, that's what happens.
That's how it goes, man.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
And look, same thing, as far and much more likable, but as far as Jason Kelce is going to write his own ticket. He's going to do whatever he wants to do, whatever the network is. He'll either be in studio or he'll be on doing games, and he'll continue to crush it with his podcast. He will. Oh, something you should check out, man. I meant to tell this to you guys and tell our audience yesterday. I'm sure you can go online and find it, or on demand and find it. There was a special that was on Sunday at 1:00, like early in the pregame stuff, 1 or 2 o'clock. I forget which. I think it was 1:00. It was called You Are Looking Live. And there's also a book called You Are Looking Live. But You Are Looking Live was an hour-long documentary, a look back at the NFL Today. The NFL Today was the original pregame show for CBS. It debuted in 1974 or 75. I forget which. And it was Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek, Irv Cross, and Phyllis George. So Brent Musburger was the straight man, the point guard. Boom, he's doing his thing. He's the studio guy. He was brilliant at it too. Irv Cross was the first African American in any kind of studio setting. He played for the Eagles. Irv did.
Oh, okay.
Phyllis George was the first woman that they used for any kind of men's sporting event like that. Jimmy the Greek was the first guy to introduce gambling. This is in the 70s when it was taboo to talk about this kind of stuff. So they really cut. Yeah, Jimmy the Greek Snyder was his nickname, Jimmy the Greek. So they covered all they were doing things at the time that were totally unheard of. It was all white males at the time. And there wasn't pregame shows anyway. There were like little highlight shows you'd get or whatever, but nothing like this. It started at 12:30. It ran from 12:30 to 1, taking you right into 1 o'clock kickoffs on the East Coast. And if you get a chance to go back, and then after Phyllis George left, they brought in Jane Kennedy, the African-American woman who was a former, model, actress, beauty queen. And it walks through some of the stuff that she had to go through. It's really, really well done. So take a look. You Are Looking Live. That was Brent Musburger. So what they would do is they would start the show off, and you would see a shot of Veterans Stadium, which is where the Eagles used to play. And he'd say, "You are looking live at a sold-out Veterans Memorial Stadium in Philadelphia, where the Eagles will take on the Cowboys at 1 o'clock today. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger." Blah 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 blah. So he would that's what it was. You Are Looking Live. So check it out if you get a chance.
I gotta check that out. Okay.
All right. Let's get a timeout. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna hit you with a couple of things, and then I have an existential Eagles question for you. Regarding 2024. So we'll do that when we return. Don't go anywhere. Tone DeShields, Rob Ellis, right back.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We were big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday. Watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We are back. Final segment of the show. Appreciate you hanging with us each and every day from 11 a to 2 p Eastern time. All right, Tone, so a couple things. Taylor Swift was on camera for 54 seconds of the 4-hour Super Bowl. I don't know how we
whole seconds, Ari.
How did we all get through it? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How did we all survive those 54 seconds?
She's ruining the game.
It took away all the game. The whole game stunk. Nobody watched because of that. Oh, maybe they did watch.
This is the last thing us men have left. It's the last thing.
We can't let them infiltrate the last thing that we have. Yes. 54 seconds. Yes. Unbelievable. So somehow, some way, 123.4 million viewers got through it. I don't know how, but somehow they did. Just that minuscule amount of people, they got through it. Anyway.
You're funnier than what you think. That was funny.
How about this? This was an unbelievable triple-double last night. Victor Wembanyama, 27, 14, and 10. The 10 was not assists. The 10 was blocks. 27, 14, 10, and 5 assists, by the way. He is amazing. He is like Stretch Armstrong, man. He is like this just walking tree. He doesn't even have to jump to block shots. He just, I mean, it's incredible what this guy can do, the reach.
You ever seen the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
He's like that species of trees that just walk around.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's like that. But yeah, he's
I watched like
talent.
4 different guys try to pump fake him, try to go under him, and it's like he's just like, whoo. He had one play, I think he blocked 3 on one sequence. It was amazing.
That's the same, man. I mean, look, the dude is definitely a talent. My only concern comes in, with the the longevity of the career. Obviously, with when you're that tall, your knees don't typically last you 20 years like a LeBron James. So I think with a guy like that, you're probably going to get at least maybe 10 years with him, being at an all-star level.
Right.
And then at that point, you're probably going to have to start to really think about where you go from there. But look, you maximize those 10 years. That's why, he's a stellar talent, but it needs to start translating into wins,
Yeah, I mean, look, that's going to take a minute because they're
of course.
Yeah. But he makes the Spurs worth watching.
Yes, I agree.
There's no chance I would even put that on for a second with the Spurs unless they're playing the Sixers. But with him, I'll watch. There are certain guys like I'll watch this game if this guy's playing. He is in that category for me in any sport, really. But he is definitely one of them for sure. All right, Eagles question for you. What concerns you more about 2024? Coaching or personnel?
Oh man. You know, when you brought that up in the pre-show meeting, I said to myself, damn, Rob, it's kind of tough. You know, you can kind of make a case for both, but
yeah,
I'm more concerned about the coaching side of things.
Okay.
Because this is something we haven't seen before in terms of, you know, with the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni, what impact does he really have on the game plan? When when he comes to the podium each and every Sunday or in press conferences, how much stock can we put into what he's saying? And then what impact will Kellen Moore have on Jalen Hurts and the rest of his offense? Vic Fangio, how much can he hide the deficiencies of the defense? And again, we're basing that off of whatever roster they do, whatever roster they put out there in week one. They're going to have limitations still. You're not going to be able to cover everything. But can Vic Fangio find a way to maximize whatever that roster is? It's so many questions about the coaching staff. You know, I think that's the side I fall on. Again, you can make a case for both, but I think I'm more on the coaching side. What about you?
I'm 100% firmly on the coaching side of this thing for three reasons. First of all, I'll get to Sirianni last, but he's first. I like the hiring of both coordinators. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Vic Fangio's got a really tough job in front of him.
Absolutely.
Because there's just going to be so many moving parts and new players on that side of the ball, which leads me to believe I don't know what the defense is going to look like, even if it isn't necessarily Fangio's fault. The offensive side with Kellen Moore is an interesting one. Was last year just a total one-off because the Chargers became a mess and Herbert got hurt and Chargers will always be Chargers? Like, is that not representative of who he is? Or is he trending in the wrong direction? He is a guy who will get away from the run game, which we always talk about can be an issue. He hasn't really coached Hurts kind of players. He's had more pocket guys with Dak and Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
Questions there. But the big one to me is Nick. What nobody can explain. No one has given a decent explanation. Players have given you little insights on things, but nobody has explained the collapse, losing 7 of 8. And
no one has really given you anything tangible to really say, okay, all right. It's just been a lot of window dressing, a lot of but he did this in the past, so it's just been a lot of politicking. So yeah, we've never really gotten any real concrete details on what went wrong, and most likely we never will. But I think we all know what went wrong, but people are afraid to say it, or they don't want to say it, or they have other motivations that prevent them from saying it. But he lost that team.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. He lost that team, and I don't get why people are so afraid to say it.
Well, that's the thing. Not only how did it start, how did it not get stopped at any point, and how were you as such a leader of men, which we believe that you were, and a tone setter and a culture setter, not able to get these guys back on track? And how also did your team in a playoff game not give maximum effort? Not everybody. We know there were some guys that did, but there were a lot of guys who didn't. How did that happen? And that to me is what I can't get past. I can buy the CEO thing, get him away from scheming up the offense, let the guy who's doing it do it. Let Kellen Moore do it. Great. You want to be a CEO, you want to have your hands on different things, great, fine. But what I saw last year scares the heck out of me with him as a coach going forward, to the point where I don't know that he knows why it happened. Do you honestly think Nick knows how this thing got so out of control?
That's a good question. Do I think Nick knows? That's a very good question. No, because if he did, he would. No, he doesn't. You want to know why? Because if he did know, he would know how to provide a solution.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what went wrong. He doesn't. Why do you think they surrounded him with all these people who have more experience than him? Right?
Yeah.
Kellen Moore has more play calling experience than him, and he's younger, believe it or not. Vic Fangio obviously been in the league for a long time. Doug Nussmeier, so much experience coaching quarterback, so on and so forth. That's why I look at Nick Sirianni and I say to myself, how can I look at you how can I look at you with any validity? How can I look at you and say, okay, what you say goes? That's not the case at all. you're at this point, you're being, in my humble opinion, you're clearly being babysat.
Yep.
This is what that is. You know, feelings may get hurt when you say something like that. You know, you may ruffle feathers. It may prevent you from going to certain rooms, but the reality is we saw it. Your moves indicate a lack of trust in this man. Your moves indicate you have more trust in your process than you do the person. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fired those head coaches like that. They would have chalked it up to, hey, you know, growing pains, new coordinators, new situation. But
Right.
no, because you have money tied up in Jalen Hurts, and you look at it as the clock has started ticking, you're not giving any leeway. Remind you, that first year with Steichen and Gannon, they didn't have any experience.
Right.
I think Steichen had 1 year of OC experience. Gannon had no DC experience.
True.
And you know, they were able to get 2 years out of it, right?
Yes.
Sean Desai and Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson had no OC experience. Sean Desai had 1 year of DC experience. Yet they offed them instantly, and they had a better record than Steichen and Gannon in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So the Eagles are looking at it from a time perspective, and they don't have time to waste playing around with with Nick Sirianni's deficiencies. But my thing is, if you already felt like he couldn't find the issues, hence why you brought all these people around him, why even keep him in the building at this point?
Yeah,
you've literally hamstrung him. You've neutered him. Like he had it went from being my offense to the Eagles' offense. See how quickly that changed?
No, you're right, and that's the thing too. Like, and we're both on the side of the coaching. It doesn't mean that we already went through this a little bit. But it doesn't mean you feel great about the personnel either, especially on the defensive side. It's troubling. It's worrisome, especially not. There's a lot of think about the uncertainty. We don't know if Reddick's going to be here. You know if Fletcher Cox is coming back. You know, there's a lot here. Are they going to get rid of Bradbury? They're going to force feed Bradbury because he's got the big contract. We don't know any of these things. Are they going to take the same direction with linebacker, which makes me really concerned.
Right.
So there's a lot of I don't knows on that side of the ball, but I feel like considering Howie's track record, he's gotten things fixed pretty quickly in the past. So it leads me to believe that he can maybe make the defense serviceable enough and the offense excels, and then boom. I mean, that's what that does for me. But I don't know that Nick gets it back, that Nick can retrieve whatever happened. I don't know.
How do you expect his players to even look at him with any sort of reverence, knowing he's not the one calling the shots anymore?
Here's how. Here's the path to that. He has the vets. Like if Kelsey
retires, if you lose Fletcher Cox, BG's likely not going to be here.
He's going to need Lane Johnson. He's going to need Brandon Graham if he's here. You're right. You know what?
What events does he have?
You're right. A lot of his real strong backers. He's going to need some of the young guys. Like he's going to need Devontae. I don't know what AJ Brown. I don't know what you do with AJ Brown, but he's going to need Devontae, like Dallas Goedert types.
Look, remember AJ Brown went to bat for him.
Yeah, he did. He did.
But again, to your exact point, though, those veterans, we don't even know if they're going to be here. Only person we know going to be here for like quite literally is Lane Johnson. Other than that, everyone else is up in the air. So other than that, I mean, he's dealing with a bunch of young veterans, guys who's been in the league for maybe 3, 4, 5 years. And I mean, it's the Eagles have put him in a precarious position. It's there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, it's a bad thing, man. As we're doing this exercise, I'm getting even more concerned because a lot of the old guard dudes who really had, now those guys could all come back and it's fine, as far as that goes. But yeah, the old guard guys are the ones who have really been vocal here. But here's the other thing we don't know. You notice the name we didn't bring up on either side. Where do you think Jalen is with Nick?
That was a point of contention throughout, especially after that playoff game when he didn't really jump out the window, endorsing Nick. He kind of just said, "Hey, I support everybody."
Right.
That was a very politically correct answer, which tells me he's not hot on him. He's not cold on him either.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, He's very whimsical about Nick Sirianni right now. It is.
Was this just Jalen being Jalen, or was that him not backing him?
And that's the crux. That's what makes Jalen Hurts a very interesting case study, because he doesn't give you anything.
Yeah,
and
ever.
When what he said was very on brand. So, and listen, Jalen Hurts is the way he is by design. You know what I'm saying? He makes sure that you can't definitively figure out what his motives are, how he feels about anything. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? At times, it can be cool, smooth. At times, it can be seen as a bit cheeky. So, if you had to ask me where Jalen Hurts is on Nick Sirianni, if I had to give you a definitive answer, if I had to say he's hot or cold on him, I would have to lean more towards cold.
Man. I don't.
And again, that's just me. That's not, that's not a guarantee. That's just me assuming.
It's just your read on it.
Yeah.
What we don't know about Jalen was he pissed that Brian Johnson got shown the door? Did he know down deep was the right thing too? And then I think that plays into Nick a little bit.
Now remember, Nick always kept saying all year, it's not Brian's fault. It's not Brian's fault. So when you keep putting it out there, and then then Nick ends up firing. Well, Howie ends up firing him, but Nick has to pull the trigger. When that happens, knowing that you kept jumping out the window saying it's not his fault, you leave too much room for your players to say, "Well, damn, do you have any control?" And they even say, "Okay, if it wasn't his fault, then what the hell's going on?" Remind you, people can say what they want about Brian Johnson. I've said a lot about Brian Johnson, but the fact of the matter is he's been here throughout Jalen Hurts' rise.
Yep.
And he's worked closely with him.
Yeah.
He also was here for the regression. But Alex Taney, the quarterback coach, was, again, the quarterback coach. So how hands-on was Brian Johnson this go around with Jalen Hurts' technique and fundamentals this go around?
I agree. Hey, we can't have this. You got to tighten this up. Get into him. Was he willing to get into him?
Right. So it's we'll never know. But if I had to guess, I don't think he was too happy with Brian leaving, but I also think he looks at it as a necessary evil.
It's business.
It's business, and he stays in his lane. But again, it reverts back to how he sees Nick Sirianni, right? You fired him, and we know you didn't make that call, and you kept claiming this was your offense. So it just doesn't look good. It's just a big ball of confusion.
They're they're a hard team to predict right now. They really are. If we're being honest, it's almost impossible because we don't know. We know very little about what the defense is going to look like from a player standpoint. And then the offensive side of the ball, if you correct Jalen, yes, things change really fast. But if you don't, and it looks like last year, where the offense isn't bad by any stretch, but it's not going to be able to overcome a defense that I don't think is going to be very good, you're going to be in that mix to, either just make or miss the playoffs. That's where you're going to be. If these things aren't fixed. The thing is, though, I truly believe that Jalen's going to go in with this whole offseason for him is going to be a great attitude, a want to get better, not a still moaning and pissing about last year. Like, I don't see him being that guy either.
Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that flushes things.
Yeah.
And it moves forward. Again, that's an assumption on our part, but I think so much of this team's success this coming season hinges on Jalen Hurts getting it right. We could talk about the defense, taking care of their business, and obviously they have a lot to do, but Jalen Hurts has to come back better.
Yeah.
He has to come back better, has to come back more polished, has to come back playing his brand of football. Kellen Moore has to maximize his skill set. And if they can do that, then the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be in every game they play.
Without question. They're going to be in every single game they play. Keep in mind, too, a little bit easier of a schedule. I can't imagine, other than, I'm saying this, and then they play in Brazil, but I can't imagine after Brazil that the schedule is going to be as challenging as it was last year in terms of travel. I can't imagine that because last year was just an anomaly of craziness.
Yeah.
So the schedule is going to be a little easier. I don't think the travel will be quite as bad. the biggest thing too is, man, how much is Nick learn from last year with the way he went about things? Like, you can only do so much with the CBA, but are you going to work these guys a little bit differently? Are you going to do things a little bit different? Is there, and it isn't necessarily you got to go out there and hit every single day, but what is he going to do different to distinguish himself from last year to make this thing better?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question, because he approached the 2023 season, I'm pretty sure, almost the exact same way. But if you notice, in the off season, when they were in preparation, Nick Sirianni was much more animated. There were reports about him being more animated. He was doing a lot more yelling. There was a lack of attention to detail,
right?
Throughout training camp and OTAs and all that kind of stuff, and we ignored it. We kind of chalked it up to, they came off that Super Bowl. They understand the stakes. The stakes are high, and we're looking at it like that, right? He's just drilling guys. But it turns out, no, there was a real issue when it came to attention to detail. There was a real issue with engagement, and it translated to the regular season.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he can do differently, because again, when your team knows that you're not the one calling the shots, it can influence how you lead and how your leadership is perceived.
Yeah, that's the other tough part, is with the player's psyche and the way they view him. You had no reason to doubt him going into last season. The guy took you to a Super Bowl. They were 2-5 his first year. They end up going 9-8. You had every reason to be uber confident your coach. Now there's a shadow of doubt. Yeah, there's a little chink in the armor.
That's the problem. The fact that there's even a shadow of doubt, the fact that there's even a chink in the armor, that's the issue. If you have a good head coach, there's none of that.
Yeah.
Regardless of outcome. Mike Tomlin has been through many ups and downs with the Steelers over the past several years. Granted, always had an over 500 record, but not once have you seen a chink in the armor. Not once have you ever questioned his ability to do his job. This is where we are with Nick Sirianni entering year 4.
These are all the things, Tone, you better have been right about if you're Howie, because this is all the things that you had to consider when you were bringing him back, is whether or not he has lost the room. Losing the room's a big deal. Now, they may know something we don't know.
But they didn't make it easy for him to get it back if he did lose it. Let's say he did lose it. They didn't make it easy for him to get it back.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, for him, he's got to pick and choose how demonstrative and how much he's using that voice. In other words, part of him has to step back and let Kellen Moore run the show offensively. That's got to be a little hard for him as an offensive coach. Vic Fangio is a guy who demands, I think, respect and demands a certain degree of autonomy and power. So he can't be too, hands-on with him. You know what I'm saying? So like all these things are kind of like tricky little dances that he's going to have to do here with the squad. Now, other guys have done it very successfully. Mike Tomlin, you brought him up, is a great example of it.
But here's the thing, though: like, they were never stripped down to their knickers like Nick Sirianni has. This is a very different situation, in my opinion. I don't even think of Nick Sirianni and Mike Tomlin being in the same stratosphere.
Yeah.
In terms of just pedigree and respect and how they conduct themselves, and it's just. Like, Nick Sirianni at times can be a goof, and now is not the time for that. He's under tremendous pressure, and look, do I want the best for everybody in this situation? Absolutely. I'm a supporter of the team. I'm Philly to the end, so I want this thing to work out, but this just looks like an accident waiting to happen with the way this thing is structured in Nick Sirianni's situation.
You know how we're going to have a little bit of a tell, even if the players and the coaches aren't talking about this kind of stuff.
Fill me in.
How Sirianni behaves on the sidelines. Are we going to see the maniac sort of routine where he's jawing with fans and all that, or
are we going to see a very measured, neutered Nick Sirianni?
And if he is, can you succeed being that guy where you're not yourself? Were you're not emotional at all?
At that press conference, he didn't look like himself.
No, they both looked like somebody stole their puppies. I mean, they were just,
It was like a wake.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So that's the other part of this thing. So that's there's a lot to look at here, man. It's going to be a fascinating offseason, and we are just really just starting to enter it. That's for sure. All right. So tonight, no Flyers, no Sixers. Sixers, I believe, are back at it tomorrow with the Heat. Flyers are back at it on Thursday. I got a couple calls into some folks for tomorrow from an Eagles perspective. So we'll see where that goes. I think we'll be talking to some people about that, but I'm waiting to hear back. But we'll certainly dive in more to the Eagles. Phillies, they will officially be working out the pitchers tomorrow in Clearwater. So we'll keep you posted on anything that's going on there. And if there's any further developments in the Hassan Reddick stuff, we'll pass it along. But that was fascinating, where he said, "Look, I didn't ask for a trade. It feels a lot like there were conversations and the Eagles weren't thrilled with where it was going. And they said, look, if you want to go talk to other people, you can. You have our permission." Not a request from Hassan, but the Eagles preemptively granting it. So we'll dive further into that as well. All right. Want to thank everybody streaming, everybody listening, everybody in the chat. Don't go anywhere. Tone has got you coming up for the National Football Show with Dan Cilio. So don't go anywhere. Everybody have a great rest of your day. If you're in my area, have fun digging out and be safe out there on the roads, people. I'll be out and about in a little bit. So everybody be careful and
be safe, Rob.
Thank you, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate it.
EAGLES.